raced against the sport's biggest personalities, but I've never met more vibrant, amazing people than the seniors served by Meals on Wheels. As a volunteer, you deliver a hot, nutritious meal and a friendly hello to someone just like your mother, grandfather, or next door neighbor. These seniors are inspiring people with incredible stories to share, and they love to see you. The smiles you get back are priceless. Delivering with Meals on Wheels is easy, and you don't have to drive like me for it to be quick. You can volunteer your lunch break once a week or just once a month. With 1 in 6 seniors facing hunger and many more living in isolation, your lunch break can make a real difference. So, America, let's do lunch. Volunteer your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Okay, Simon, what are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. And what do people normally wear?
Clothes.
Exactly. So now Mommy's going to teach you how to dress yourself. Clothes keep us warm, they look good, and if we go out without them, the neighbors will talk. So it's important to know how to get dressed. Here's how it's done. Underwear always comes first, name tag at the back, then pants, then shirt. Get the first button in the right hole or you have to start all over. If you're wearing a tie, it goes over, round, through, and pull tight. Tuck your shirt into your pants and zip up your fly. Socks going first, then shoes right on right, left on left. With shoelaces, just take the ends, cross them over, switch the loops. The rabbit goes down the hole, pull tight, and you're left with bunny ears.
I love bunnies.
Good to know. Now remember, spots don't go with stripes, socks don't go with sandals, and if you've tucked in your shirt, wear a belt. Got it? Why are your pants on your head?
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
So you see, son, good manners are very, very important. Someday, many years from now, when you're a grown-up, you'll be a man. And when you are, you should be a gentleman. Do you want me to go through it one more time?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes, please.
Exactly. Always say please, thank you, you're welcome, and excuse me. Sit up straight, hold doors open for ladies. If a door's shut, then knock first. Don't burp, don't swear, don't speak with your mouth full, don't reach across people's plates, keep your elbows off the table.
What table?
And don't interrupt. While we're at it, don't stare, don't use foul language, don't call people names, but do remember people's names. Always share your toys, play nice, and cover your mouth when you cough or sneeze. On the bus, give up your seat to anyone who has trouble standing. Bottom line, treat others the way you'd like to be treated. Got it?
Got it.
And stop picking your nose.
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But spending just 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier and could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. For fun 2-minute videos to watch while brushing, visit 2min2x.org. That's 2min2x.org. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
Hey, there he is. How's it going?
I'm having a stroke.
Are you going to shake my hand or what?
I'm having a stroke.
Wow, you're not even moving your arm.
I'm having a stroke.
Are you okay?
I'm having a stroke.
Your face looks weird too.
I'm having a stroke.
Are you having a seizure or something?
I'm having a stroke.
When someone is having a stroke, they may not be able to say it with words, but their body language will tell you loud and clear.
I'm having a stroke.
You just need to know the sudden signs. Look for FAST, F-A-S-T, F, face drooping, A, arm weakness, or S, speech difficulty, then T, time. Time to call 911 immediately, because the sooner they get to the hospital, the sooner they'll get treatment, and that can make a remarkable difference in their recovery. Know the sudden signs: face, arm, speech, time. Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
The average time a resume spends on an HR manager's desk is 7 seconds, and most of them are tossed aside. Now imagine if one of those resumes belonged to Yasmin, who was
living in a shelter, juggling 3 jobs. I had to be resilient. That's something that you can't teach.
Or if that resume was from someone who
worked 12-hour shifts at the recycling company with my dad, who's 72. That taught me a work ethic that I carry with me every day.
We rely so much on a resume, yet it could never tell the full story of someone.
Growing up where I did, a lot of things could have gotten in the way of my goals. But I learned to push through, and that's what I bring to work every day.
So maybe it's time we look beyond the resume and look to Grads of Life. Discover new ways to develop great talent that are so much more than what's on paper at gradsoflife.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Grads of Life and the Ad Council.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't sat in your lap in months. And even more stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed, and they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover guitar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Dear John, I was hoping it wouldn't come to this, but you've left me no choice. I'm leaving. Uncontrolled high blood pressure is really serious, and lately you seem to really not care. I've been there for you since day one, and I know you think I'm gonna keep ticking, but no, my friend, I can quit whenever I want. Why can't we get back to the good times, when we were more active and ate more healthy foods, and you checked on me every once in a while? Is that too much to ask? I don't want to leave, but unless you stop ignoring me, what else am I supposed to do? Remember, when I quit, you quit. Sincerely, your heart.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you. Doing the minimum to control your high blood pressure isn't doing enough. High blood pressure can lead to a stroke, heart attack, or death. Get your blood pressure to a healthy range before it's too late. Find out how at heart.org/blood pressure. Check, change, control. A message from the American Heart Association, the American Stroke Association, and the Ad Council.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Jason Derulo. I love that music connects to people all over the country. But unfortunately, so does something else. Childhood hunger. 15 million kids struggle with hunger right here in America. And yet, every year, billions of pounds of surplus food in the U.S. go to waste instead of going to the children in need. Feeding America is working to change this. The Feeding America nationwide network of food banks rescues this surplus of food to help provide meals to families in virtually every community in the United States, including yours. But they just can't do this alone. Join me in the fight against hunger in America. For more information on what you can do to get involved, visit feedingamerica.org. That's feedingamerica.org. Together we can solve hunger. Together, we're Feeding America. A message from Feeding America and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Colin Cowherd says that Aaron Rodgers enters the darkness when things go wrong. Joe Burrow says the Bengals are not championship levels when it comes to teams. And Stefon Diggs says he took it personal when the Texans beat the Bills. And much, much more on a new show of the Sports Loudmouth. Doc Rivers is going to have Damian Lillard run very fast out of town. Does he help them win? You're under 500. Aaron Judge helps the Yankees win. You're paying the players $300 million. You better be sure that that guy's going to help you get over the hump. For some reason, this guy is completely lost on calling plays. Maybe he's a therapist. Did you see Lamar Jackson cry to the referee? No, he didn't. We are back for a new show of the Sports Loudmouth. My name is Errol Marks, my co-host, Speedy Petey, our executive producer, Mr. Aaron Fishman, and our Sports Minute, Mr. Tommy Scoops. 631-672-3108 is the number to call. Go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, including The Loudmouth with me and Speedy Petey every single Mondays and Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out our local listings for all our shows is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, it has been an interesting day when it comes to the weather. It was pouring rain all morning long, then it becomes sunny. It's like summer weather now. I don't understand this weather here in New York. It's fall time. We're going into winter, and we had like 78-degree weather today. It was just ridiculous. I don't like this weather. Everybody knows I can't stand the heat. This should be football weather. It should be like in the 50s consistently. It's not, and I just can't stand it. Speedy, what's up, man?
Crazy weekend for my sports teams. The Mets with two wild games, absolutely. The win game one out of nowhere and then lose game two. Edwin Diaz struggling a little bit, but still have trust in him. And then the Giants out of nowhere. I'm like, I'm going to just put the Giants game on my phone because I have no faith in them winning, actually. And then they actually win.
The problem is, and I've said this all along about Giant fans, is they don't trust Daniel Jones. But I trust Daniel Jones, and I am not even a Giants fan. And Daniel Jones showed up on Sunday, as he's done really all season long. Just his team doesn't. And the coaching is just horrific, usually. But Brian Daboll, I think, understands what his strengths are. And I think he's starting to use Daniel Jones' strengths. And Daniel Jones has looked like a quality quarterback the last couple of weeks. So, and I like Daniel Jones. And I hope nothing but the best for him. And hopefully the Giants decide in the offseason that this guy is the future quarterback. Stop with going into the draft every single year trying to find the guy that's going to fill in that spot, that void that they haven't had since Eli Manning, which everybody couldn't stand Eli Manning before he won the Super Bowl in 2007. So a lot to get into today, but yeah, I just want to let everybody know that it's been a horrific weekend. I dealt with so many things, and I'm just happy to be here. I'm happy to just have some outbursts when it comes to sports. And my outbursts are going to be poured on my teams today. I'm going to tell you that right now, as the New York Jets are just an absolute debacle of an organization. And we will get into that first. But first, at 8:30, we'll be talking to Savannah Bananas, co-head coach. He's been on our show. We're very happy to have him on again. Adam Virant. He will be on a show a little bit later in the show. At 9 o'clock, we'll be talking to former 11-year MLB catcher, my friend, Jimmy Leyritz, for the first time on the Sports Loudmouth. I've been to a couple of events with Jimmy. Jimmy is a nice guy. He's been through so many controversial things in his past. And then, how just remarkable how his past hasn't taken control of his life. And he's really changed his life. And he's become not only just a good face for Yankee baseball, just a good face for baseball. And so many different things so many events that he goes to and so much that he stands for. So I'm very happy to have Jimmy join our show a little bit later. But Colin Cowherd said that Aaron Rodgers went into the dark retreat during the Jets' 23-17 loss against the Vikings. He added that Rodgers' body language is some of the worst in the NFL for a quarterback and is always blaming somebody else. He added that Robert Bambi Saleh shouldn't be blamed for their struggles because the Jets' defense has played great without much of the pass rush. Craig Carton said that the Jets are starting to look like the same old Jets again. WFAN's Brandon Tierney says that the Aaron Rodgers looks old and frustrated. Sports Illustrated's Albert Breer reports that Davante Adams sweepstakes is pretty much down to the Jets and the Saints, and the Raiders want to make the decision very, very soon. The deal could happen within the next 48 hours, and the Raiders are likely to get a second-round draft pick and maybe a day 3 pick for Davante Adams. A lot to get into if you're a New York Jet fan, and I don't want to hear any excuses on Sunday. It was an early game. It was in London. So many Jet fans showed up in London to see a team not even show up in the first half. Nobody showed up in the first half. I think Bambi was hanging out with, a couple of flowers or, skunks or, rabbits. I don't know what he was hanging out with, but he wasn't hanging out with his football team. That's for sure. His problem, and I've been saying this over and over and over and over again about this team, is he does not know how to lead. Robert Saleh has had a problem with this team since he's taken over, is he doesn't know how to lead men. When he was over there in San Francisco, everybody trusted his way or the highway when it comes to the defense. Everybody. Richard Sherman spoke high regards of him when he left Seattle to go to San Francisco and took his talents to San Francisco. And he said Robert Saleh was his best defensive coordinator he's ever played under. We've heard so many different defensive players speak so much high regards to this man, that he's a great leader, that they play with him or play for him no matter where he went. And he's drawn some players to come and play for him with the New York Jets. But the guy is a failure as a head coach. His record shows you he's not a successful coach. His problem really, intensifies when his defense isn't playing well early in the game. His defense did not show up in the first half. It did not. It was the second half where the defense shut down the Vikings offense. The Vikings had 6 points in the second half? 2 field goal kicks. They were up 17-7 going into the third quarter. They were up 17-0 until 2 minutes of that, 2 minutes going into the half. The Jets just couldn't figure things out. They couldn't figure it out. And everybody wants to point it to Aaron Rodgers. It's Aaron Rodgers' fault. Did he look good? No, he threw 2 interceptions in the first half. He threw 3 interceptions in the whole game. It's not the first time Aaron Rodgers has done that. He's done it 5 times in his career. 5 times. And I was speaking to Mark Everett Kelly after the game, and he said the last time Aaron Rodgers did that was, I think, 2018, 2019. He's done it 5 times in his career. This guy is one of the most accurate quarterbacks in NFL history. He is the most accurate quarterback in NFL history. But for some reason, he came to the New York Jets. He gets hurt with 4 plays last year, didn't play at all last year, comes back. Everybody was expecting high regards of the type of player that he was when he played in Green Bay, that he has the tremendous talent, the tremendous arm strength and arm ability. And this team is just not playing well. And that has a lot to do with coaching. Nathaniel Hackett can hack it. He doesn't know how to coach. This offense doesn't know what the hell they're doing. They're running the wrong routes. Aaron Rodgers is calling audibles at the line of scrimmage. You can see him calling audibles and check downs. And you see the running backs. They have no idea what's going on. They don't know if they're running or they're going to catch in the backfield or going to be decoys in the open field or even blocking for them. Allen's a rookie. So there's no excuses for Breece Hall, okay? There's no excuses. He's been in the league for 3 years. This guy has been an elite running back. And again, the problem is they're not running the right routes. Garrett Wilson, I've heard the analysts in the game say that this was Garrett Wilson's best game. Yeah, when he sees the ball 20 to 22 times, of course he's going to have a good game. He'd be sorry if he didn't. Anybody that sees the ball 22 times thrown to him should have a good game. But teams are going to figure that out. And Allen Lazard didn't catch the ball in the most important parts of the game. And this is, again, a problem for Allen Lazard. He can't hold on to the ball. And again, I'm not making any excuses for Aaron Rodgers. I know everybody's probably saying, oh, there he goes, making excuses for Aaron Rodgers. You love Aaron Rodgers. No, I'm not making any excuses for him. Aaron Rodgers has a lot to be blamed for in that game. A lot. A lot. But it's not all his fault. He's calling the plays. These guys got to run them. Mike Williams was the only player I felt, and he's been here for what? 4 games, 5 games? He's finally getting a chance to play and see the ball. He's the only one that I can honestly say looks like a competent wide receiver when he's running a route. Aaron doesn't throw him the ball enough. And at the end of the game, that interception, that was a hold. Right there. That was a hold. That was a penalty. The fact that the refs didn't call that as a penalty is a debacle. But again, throughout that game, Minnesota was getting the calls and the Jets just weren't. They weren't. But that's not an excuse. You're going to see that a lot in the NFL. You're going to see that. And Aaron, puts his head up. He's complaining. There's so many things that Robert Saleh said at his press conference at the end of the game that makes me shake my head. The fact that Aaron Rodgers up there, he's trying to speak to the press, and the press are really nailing him down, trying to point, certain situations and certain plays that were called at the line of scrimmage and the audible plays were his fault when he probably was not taking responsibility for some of the plays and some of the routes that these players were running, which it is half of his fault, but not all of his fault. Breece Hall is not the same player he was last year. He was not in this game, and he wasn't in the last couple of weeks. I don't know where the Jets go with this, but I'm going to tell you this. Monday Night Football in front of the world, and they've been in front of the world how many times so far? In the first 5 games of the season, they have been in prime time 3 times. This was the primetime game because it was the first game of Sunday. It was London. It was the only game being played at 9:30 in the morning. To me, that's prime time, where everybody has their eyes on you. They've been on a Thursday night football game. They've been on a Monday night football game. And now they're going to play in another Monday night football game in front of everyone against the Buffalo Bills at MetLife. And again, to the Jet fans that are all over social media saying that Aaron Rodgers looks old, he's the problem. Really? 2 weeks ago, you had a love fest for him after he beat New England 24-3. And I told all the Jet fans, this is the New England Patriots. They stink. They have no offense. They have Stevenson. That's it. They have no wide receivers. They have all number 3s and number 4s. Yes, Jeff, no number 2s. They're all 3s and 4s, if lucky. They have nothing. And again, we're going back and forth about the New York Jets because it's not just the way they play. It's how they lose. They had a chance to beat the Broncos, even though they played a putrid game at MetLife last week. They still had a chance to win. Greg the Leg, who got a 2-year extension in the offseason because of what he did last year. He was one of the best kickers in the league, one of the most consistent ones in the AFC. He gets a 2-year extension from the Jets because they didn't want to lose him to free agency. And he missed 2 very important kicks throughout the game, especially the final one, 50 yards, what could have won him the game. Too many mistakes. Too many mistakes. And if you make mistakes in the NFL, a lot of these teams are they're so close to one another. It's not even New England, who absolutely stinks. They're not too far apart from the Jets. They're not too far apart from Buffalo. Any given Sunday, anybody could win because a lot of these teams have talent in certain positions. So, yes, when you look at it, you're trying to connect the dots with what the Jets have done over the last couple of weeks. What I can tell you right now is the 2 wins the Jets have had against the Titans and New England was expected. They should have beaten the Titans. They have Will Levis throwing the ball. And they should beat the New England Patriots because, 1, they have a rookie coach, and 2, they have Jacoby Brissett as their quarterback. And when they've played good quarterbacks, and yes, Sam Darnold is a good quarterback. For all you Jet fans that didn't want Sam Darnold and the Jets just decided to banish him from the organization and only getting a second and a fourth from him. And I think now when you see what Sam Darnold is doing and what he's producing, he didn't have such a great game. He didn't play well on Sunday, but he did enough to win. He did enough to win against Green Bay the week before. He had a great first half and he played like crap the second half. But guess what? He did enough to win. And in the NFL, all you need to do is do enough to win. And you could do enough to lose. And Aaron Rodgers knows about that. Robert Saleh knows about that. And we all definitely know Nathaniel Hackett knows everything about that. I can't sit here and make any excuses for this team. And I won't, because I'm an honest Jet fan. I'm wearing my Jets hat because I'm a Jet fan. Facts are facts. I'm wearing a pink Jets hat because this year, or this month, is obviously Breast Cancer Month. And I'm a supportive person when it comes to breast cancer. And I know a couple of people that lost their parents from breast cancer. So I stand for what I believe in. And I stand for my team, even though I can't believe they lost a game that I thought, even though this team, the Minnesota Vikings, were 4-0 going into the game, that I thought that the Jets were the better team. They had the more talent behind them with the running backs and with the wide receivers and even with the defense. And the only thing I saw on Sunday is Sauce Gardner. Yes, Sauce Gardner getting the penalties that he got, and DJ Reed making valuable mistakes in the game, which cost the Jets. And this is supposed to be a great secondary, one of the best secondaries in football. And I've argued that it is. But Sauce Gardner is no Darrelle Revis. And DJ Reed is no Antonio Cromartie. And you Jet fans that were sitting there and trying to compare this duo to that duo, there's no comparison. Stop it. There is no comparison to Antonio Cromartie and Darrelle Revis in the primes of their careers. Because honestly, what I've seen week in and week out this year, especially this year, is Sauce Gardner lackadaisical, making mistakes at the line of scrimmage, pulling and tugging on players, which we've been seeing since he's come into the league, but getting caught by the refs. And DJ Reed making careless mistakes in the open field. This is a defense that on paper is one of the best defenses in the league, one of the worst teams on third downs, one of the worst. And I don't care where they're ranked in the NFL. For all you Jet fans who are saying the Jets are a top 5 defense, when it counts, they're not. When it counts, they're not. On third downs, they're one of the worst teams in the NFL. And yes, that what Fish is showing right now on the video feed, that interception that Aaron Rodgers threw to Van Ginkel was horrible. It was horrible. It really was. But you know why it was really horrible? Because none of the players were running the right routes. If you watch that play, I don't know if anybody saw the play or watched the game. Nobody was even turned around when he threw that ball. Everybody was still running their routes. Mike Williams was supposed to turn around and get ready to catch the ball in that slot area. He doesn't even turn around. Ginkel read it, took it, pick six, right into the end zone. There's no excuses to this team. And if they lose against Buffalo on Monday Night Football, Bambi Saleh needs to be, he needs to be fired. Okay.
Up to down.
He needs to be fired. You see, I'm so stuttery because there's nothing I could say about this team that I can make any more excuses for the coaching staff or the players. Somebody needs to go. It's not going to be Joe Douglas. It's going to be Saleh. If they lose on Monday Night Football on a national stage at MetLife against their nemesis, the Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen just lost his back-to-back games. He just lost back-to-back games, just like the Jets. Whoever wins this game on Monday Night Football is going to have sole custody of first place in the AFC East. Yes, as bad as the Jets have been the last few weeks, the Jets have a chance to be in first place in the AFC East if they beat the Buffalo Bills on Monday Night Football.
And Colin Cowherd, a message for you that is trying to protect Robert Saleh just because the Jets defense on paper played well. That's still not the overall job of a head coach. Now, I think I've been stubborn in the past with teams, with the Jets trying to evolve their schemes and evolve their game plans. And I think they tried to do that with Garrett Wilson with his comments last week, trying to get him more involved. But here's the problem with that. When Garrett Wilson got 22 targets in that game, like Brian Flores kind of bought into that kind of thing and still out-coached Robert Saleh and Nathaniel Hackett and said, all right, we're going to go double team Allen Lazard because Allen Lazard is eventually going to get the targets. And what did you know? Like you said, the game plan eventually caught up to him in the fourth quarter. That second interception was a horrible throw. Double teamed right into Allen Lazard. Why? Because eventually Aaron Rodgers is going to have to make the adjustment to try to go to Allen Lazard. And they've had a great game plan all game for all those running backs. And that's the difference in coaching. Fish was just showing the first interception with Van Ginkel before. He made Van Ginkel look like a blitzer, drops back into coverage. What happens? Pick six. Why? Because they knew those route patterns were going to come because they were trying to adjust to that to get more quicker concepts. And that kind of thing, while the initial game plan to get a different look might have been better, they never adjusted in the first and second quarter. And what do you know? You're down 17-0.
And when you fall down 17-0, it's all about chasing. And by the way, how many times have we seen this year the Jets have the lead in the game? How many times have we seen it? 3, 4 times all season long?
And how big of a lead, too.
It's been horrible. The only game that they really looked like they were going to pull away was the Patriot game.
Right.
Even the Tennessee Titan game, they shouldn't have won that game. If Will Levis didn't make those mistakes, they probably win that game. The Titans probably win that game. It's just there's mistake after mistake, coaching blunder after coaching blunder. And Robert Saleh, all he does, and I said this over and over and over again, he looks like a deer in the headlights. His head's between his legs, and he's looking at his testicles half the time. And then when his head's up, you wonder if he actually knows what's going on in the game. I really sincerely believe that Robert Saleh has no answers. And I do believe that him and Aaron Rodgers are not getting along. There is something going on in that locker room that we don't know, even though people see it. Nobody knows exactly what it is, but there's something going on with him and Robert Saleh. You saw it in the New England Patriot game on Thursday Night Football. You saw it. And I know Aaron says, and Robert were like pushing it away like it was nothing. But honestly, I saw it before it was even becoming a story. And I told Fish to post that up, the picture. And then everybody started posting that up on social media after the game. I saw it. I was watching it. I saw his face. You know when Aaron Rodgers is not happy, his eyes get big, and he makes these faces. You see it. He's either frustrated or he's pissed off. You knew when Tom Brady was upset.
Oh, yeah.
You knew it.
All tablets were being destroyed.
Not even that. You see it in his face. You see him yelling, cursing, looking down and just screaming at himself and everybody else around him. You know when he's pissed off. It's just there is something going on with this team. Maybe there needs to be a coaching change right now. Mm-hmm. Maybe to give them some kind of confidence. Now, I don't want Nathaniel Hackett to be the head coach of this team. We definitely don't want to see that.
No.
Maybe they fire Nathaniel Hackett and bring in another offensive coordinator. Maybe play Downs. Maybe let Downs take over for the team. He's been the offensive coordinator with the Titans, I think it was. I think it's Downs.
I think it was Todd Downing. Yeah,
yeah,
it
Downing.
Was the Titans offensive coordinator.
He was the offensive. Maybe making him the full-time offensive coordinator and changing it up. It worked well for the Buffalo Bills last year when Brady took over. Maybe that's the way the Jets go. If it doesn't work out on Monday Night Football, I don't know. And I know Aaron Rodgers is not going to be happy with that if Nathaniel Hackett gets fired. But guess what? It's not Aaron Rodgers' team anymore. It's not. If Robert Saleh wants to be taken seriously right now, he needs to take the bull by its horns. And he needs to say, you know what? This is my team. I could lose my job tomorrow if I can't get this team to play for me. And Aaron, you're going to go out there and you're going to do what I ask you to do. And that's go win a football game. And everybody's talking about this whole Davante Adams thing. Is this going to make this Jets team a Super Bowl contender if they make this move for Davante Adams? The answer, no. Because even with Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson on this roster, and yes, they will look explosive. On paper, it looks good, but on the field, it might not. The Jets can't run the ball. They are one-dimensional. One-dimensional. Last week, not this week, last week, all-purpose yards and scrimmage yards. Do you know how many yards Breece Hall ran last week? 9 yards. He was at a negative before the second half started. At a negative. Breece Hall. Everybody thought was going to be a top 3 running back.
Yeah, and Bo Nix a negative passing yards, so they still couldn't execute.
This is a problem. If they can't run the ball and they're one-dimensional and teams know they're going to play one-dimensional, you're going to have Aaron Rodgers throw the ball 55, 60 times, you're in trouble. Even with those Green Bay Packer teams, they had good running games. Every year they had good running games. They never had a weak running game when Aaron Rodgers was there. They never played one-dimensional football. And now you see Aaron Rodgers playing one-dimensional football, and we've seen every single quarterback, great quarterbacks, young quarterbacks, come here to this team at the top of their games. The only person that really showed up when he came here to the New York Jets and took over and was a pretty good Jet was Vinny Testaverde. He was the only veteran quarterback that came here and was successful. And now Aaron Rodgers, all the Jet fans were so excited. Aaron Rodgers is going to be our quarterback. And the only thing we've seen Aaron Rodgers do this year that I've seen, and I'm going to complain about, is go up there, speak to the press, go to a bunch of events, flash himself, dance around, prance around like he's the king of New York, and has done nothing. Done absolutely nothing for this team or this organization. On Hard Knocks, he was over there. He was making suggestions. It was everything. Everybody was like, oh, we got Aaron Rodgers. Everybody wanted his autograph. You have Chris Sweeney. Yes, Chris, I'm going to throw you under the bus. Chris Sweeney, who I've given an opportunity to get autographed jerseys from guys that we've had on the show. Kiss Aaron Rodgers' ring, his ass. Aaron Rodgers might as well have taken off his underwear and signed it.
Before we get fish in, Keith said Rodgers was awful. Sauce got smoked all day long. You could say they were a top 3 defense before the year. Aaron needs to fire himself as the offensive coordinator. He blows, and the Testaverde team had a good offensive line.
All right, Fish, your thoughts.
My thoughts are they don't call good plays. It might not be the routes. It might be the plays. I think that the problem is you take a look at that pick 6. All 3 receivers on that side just ran little stop routes like we're playing JV football. That I've done that when I was a JV football coach, which is fine if you can get it off right away, except they knew that was coming. Brian Flores might end up being, assistant coach of the year, the way that he's going right now with the game plans he has, befuddling everyone he's faced. Giants look terrible against him. Apparently, Giants aren't as bad. We'll talk about them soon. The 49ers couldn't do anything against him. Purdy was completely stopped. And Aaron Rodgers threw 3 picks against this Vikings defense. They don't have, any superstars on that defense. So it's obviously a great scheme that's really bringing some good players together to play at a high level. Van Ginkel was great in Miami the year before. I think
Can't say healthy.
He's really underrated. Really, well, look, he's a lot of the problems with the Miami guys. They can't stay healthy. But I'll tell you what, he dropped and read Rodgers and picked it off because they knew that play was coming. Whether it was Flores or Van Ginkel or a combination of both of them, Rodgers got schooled by Flores in that game. He threw 3 picks. He threw less than 50.
Well, if you watch that play, Van Ginkel did know it was coming to him. But guess what? The wide receiver that he was throwing to didn't even turn around for the ball. He had no idea it was coming to him. And that's the problem. Nobody's running the right routes. Alan Lazard, who knows Aaron Rodgers very, very well, there were points in the game that he was throwing him the ball and it was hitting him from behind. He didn't even know it was coming to him. That's the problem. He's calling the plays and they don't even know what the plays are. That is coaching. That has everything to do with coaching. It has nothing to do with the players and what the players weren't doing. It's all about what you're practicing at, practice. You guys, they're practicing these plays all week long. Nathaniel Hackett is calling the plays, and these guys are running it over and over and over and over again at practice. How do you not know when you're calling the play that you got to turn around or you got to run right instead of left or go forward instead of backwards? It's horrible. This is horrible football. This is I would have never believed I'm going to say this. This is the worst offense I've seen in a very long time, like really long time. Even Adam Gase, even with all the other coaches we've seen over the last couple of years, it's just a better run offense. Nathaniel Hackett is horrible. And Robert Saleh coming out and saying that you got to go through him this year before the play is going to be called, it makes it even look even worse. It's horrible.
I saw a stat. Shout out to our guy Austin Gale. I think it said the Jets, I think, scored the same amount of points through 5 games last year as they did this year.
By the way, Keith, last year's offense was not worse. Actually, it wasn't. As a matter of fact, Breece Hall had a fantastic year running the ball last year with a weaker offensive line. You heard it from me. Weaker offensive line. We had 16 injuries on the offensive line, and you could still run the ball. You had Zach Wilson. By the way, do you know that Zach Wilson at this time of season last year had at least one week with 300 yards in a game? How many has Aaron Rodgers had? How many has Aaron Rodgers had? None. He hasn't thrown a 300-yard game yet this year. Zach Wilson in 5 weeks had that game where he threw over 300 yards against Kansas City. This is a problem. Don't say that the offense last year was worse. It wasn't. This offense, this Jets offense, the Jets have a better record than they did last year. That's because of the teams that they're playing. But this offense is worse than it was last year. And again, and you have a healthy Aaron Rodgers. Who would have thought that Aaron Rodgers would have, I think, close to, no, actually, he has more interceptions than he does of touchdowns. I don't know exactly. I don't know the numbers, but I'm pretty much going to predict that Aaron Rodgers has thrown more interceptions than touchdowns this year. What is the numbers? Does anybody have the numbers right now? I'm
bringing it up.
I'm going to predict this. If he has more touchdowns, it's like an 8-7 ratio. I would say Aaron has 8 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. It's very close. What is it?
It's 7 to 4. 7 to 4. It's not as bad as it seems.
So
but only 61% completion percentage, down from his 65% career. He's only throwing it an average of 6.3 yards a pass. He's over 7.5 for 7.7 for his career.
So he has 7 touchdowns to 4 interceptions.
He's putting up pedestrian numbers for Aaron Rodgers. Let's face it. And I think you hit it on the nail on the head, Errol. I want to put up a clip right here on why they are so bad. Here's 2 straight runs, 3rd and 2, 4th and 2 in the red zone. They don't get the points, by the way, because they go for it and get absolutely nothing with both of their running backs. But take a look back at these sets. They are running up against too many guys because, again, they have it schemed because they know what the Jets are going to do. The Jets are so predictable when they get into personnel groupings. Over here, there's an extra guy that's not going to be blocked on the first play, coming right through. Actually, I'm sorry, it was the second play. They just out-toughed on the right side of the line on that. But here, you can see that he's getting hit in the backfield on 4th and 2 because the blocking scheme calls. And let me explain how dumb this is. On 4th and 2, they have an extra guy over there. Now, you're going to bring a receiver across the formation to block a hard rushing end who's the only guy that can make the play, and then have the tight end just do nothing? Look at what happens. Tight end just gets out of the way. That guy gets in there. He never has a chance. But if the tight end went for the second guy in, the linebacker, who's straight over his head at the start of the play, by the way, very simple block for him. And then you just have, maybe you wait for the receiver to get out there and they just make a wall. This is basic shit. You can't make this up. And they don't get points. It could be a 1-possession game in the second quarter if they kick the field goal. Or maybe they continue on. It's too simple. It's so easy for a guy like Flores.
They
to
can't
stop
run the
go-
ball. That's the facts. There's no explanation to anything else that you're saying, Fish. The fact is they can't run the ball. They have no chance of winning a football game if they can't figure out what is going on with this running game. And what's crazy about it is they have two really good backs. Two backs that can take over a game. Allen is a good back, and Breece Hall, even though he has looked like a shell of what he was last year, is a good back. So if your two good backs can't do anything, look at the Giants. They have Singletary, okay? Singletary is nowhere close to the talent Breece Hall is, and he's nowhere close to the talent Allen is. But he's still putting up numbers. And by the way, the offensive line for the Giants is nowhere close to the talent the Jets have. And they're playing better than the Jets are. And you know why they're playing better? Is because of the play calling. Their offensive line coach actually is a competent offensive line coach. Their coach, even though I'm not a big fan of his because he's like a dictator, he actually is a good offensive mind. And their defensive coach, who, is up and down really all season long, shows up in certain aspects of the game and actually calls the right play. The Jets on third downs this year have been one of the worst defenses in the league. Go look at it. The Jets have given up more third down plays than any team in football. Any team in football. You go to even Carolina. Look at the big teams. Look at New England. Nobody's given up more third downs than the New York Jets. Nobody. And the fact that the Jets are 2-3 right now is like it's like God giving them a gift. He's giving you a gift. And all you Jet fans, you should enjoy yourself with your nice bracelets that you're going to get at MetLife when you play the Buffalo Bills. Because the last time they met at MetLife, go ask Aaron Rodgers what happened. Go ask him. The last time the Buffalo Bills played the Jets at MetLife, I think it was on Monday night. Was it not?
9/11.
Monday Night Football. What happened to Aaron Rodgers? 4 plays, he was out for the season. So, and the Jets actually won that game in overtime. This game is so very important for Robert Saleh, Aaron Rodgers, and you, the Jet fans. Because if the Jets lose this game on Monday night, Robert Saleh and this team are done. I'm telling you, I know everybody's going to say, well, they're 2-4. It's not over yet. It's over. The confidence level of this team is crap. There is no confidence. And the fact that everybody wants to say they have 2 wins, they play 2 garbage teams, 2 teams that shouldn't even have 1 win. I mean, the Patriots shouldn't have a win, and neither should the Titans. They're horrible. Horrible. So, and you have a Hall of Fame quarterback that after the game had really nothing to say. He had nothing to say. He says, we got to play better. Duh. I mean, what are you going to say? What I'm going to tell you as a Jet fan, and for all you Jet fans out there that have made excuses and say, now all of a sudden everybody wants to point their fingers at Aaron Rodgers. He's the problem. He's the problem. I saw so many posts today that Aaron Rodgers is the problem. No, he's not the problem. Wake up, guys. Wake up. It is your coach. That's the problem. That's the problem. And I've been saying this for 2 years. Why does anybody listen to me? Bambi is the problem. Get it through your damn skulls. All you Jet fans out there, J-E-T-S, sucks. You know why they suck? Because the coaching staff doesn't know what the hell they're doing. The reason why the Jets are not a winning organization is for years, year after year after year, bringing in the wrong coach. When are they going to get it right? When are they going to figure this out? Horrible. Absolutely horrible. 45 minutes on the New York Jets. Makes me sick. Joe Burrow told ESPN that he doesn't see the Bengals as a championship-level team the way they're built. Burrow said, this is going to be interesting. Burrow said, it's frustrating to see the team not perform at a high level. They should be after collapsing in week 5 versus the Ravens. Jamar Chase said to not blame Burrow on his costly fourth quarter interception. Why would he bring that up if he's not blaming him? saying he ran a horrible route. Chase also called out the Bengals offense for their red zone issues in overtime, calling 3 straight run plays. Sounds familiar. Instead of getting the ball to their playmakers. T. Higgins also said he wished the Bengals were more aggressive on the offense, in overtime to make it more makeable when it comes to a field goal. The Bengals offense this season is scoring 2.94 points per drive, the highest in franchise history since 2000. The Bengals defense is allowing 2.73 points per game, the worst in franchise history since 2000. The Bengals fall to 1-4 after blowing a 38-28 lead with under 6 minutes to go versus the Ravens. The Ravens did not have a good game. They did not play well. Their defense, which is another defense that everybody thought was going to be world beaters this year. World beaters. I thought with the talent they added Queen to, I'm sorry, not Queen. I'm sorry. They added a tremendous amount of defensive help. They did lose Queen. He went to Pittsburgh in the offseason. But nevertheless, they added some optional defensive players, and they're still a very good defense, a high volume defense. And this year, for some reason, early so far this season, their secondary disappears in the second half. And obviously, their offense with Zay Flowers and all these other weapons that they added in the offseason are not as good as we thought they were going to be this year. And especially after watching the first game of the season against Kansas City. Zay Flower had a touchdown, but he has not been the explosive player I thought he was going to be. That's why I drafted him in the second round or third round in one of my leagues. I thought he was going to be very explosive, one of the elite wide receivers, top 10 wide receivers. Joe Burrow, here's the problem, and the Bengals have a lot of issues. And I know everybody wants to blame the coaching, and maybe it's time for a new voice in the locker room. It could be. It could be. But the fact that Jamar Chase didn't get his contract before the season started, that caused a lot of problems. I mean, he didn't get a chance to practice really with the team in the offseason. He didn't have much of a preseason because he was sitting out because he had his panties up in a bunch. That's the truth. The fact that Joe Burrow, coming off a significant injury and missing almost the whole season last year, and everybody says, when he goes out one season, he comes back and he's a world beater. And everybody says it's every other year. Joe Burrow's been in the league for what? This is his 5th year, 6th year? 5 years. If you look at his career, he's great one year, he gets hurt another year. He's great one year, he gets hurt another year. This is the year that he comes back and he's supposed to be a world beater. And T. Higgins started the season on the injured reserve, and this team lost. And I'm going to say this. I didn't think it was going to be a big problem. Joe Mixon going to the Texans in the offseason. I didn't think that was going to be a big problem because I thought, hey, you know what? You could put a running back in that position with this offense. They're still going to find a way to win. They have not been the prolific offense they were when Joe Mixon was there. And losing Joe Mixon, I'm not a Joe Mixon fan because the guy never stays healthy. I've drafted him in my fantasy leagues many, many times, and the guy can never stay fully healthy for a season. So I'm not a big Joe Mixon fan. But when he is in the offense, he opens up many different lanes. And when you have a running back that can open up lanes and you got to concentrate on that power back, it opens up the lanes on the outside for Jamar Chase, T. Higgins. And then, by the way, they lost, valuable wide receivers in the offseason too. One of them went to the Titans. So unfortunately, this team thought with T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, that would be enough. That would be enough to get this team into the playoffs and maybe make a run. And it's just not. And this defense looks old. They can't stay healthy, and they look old. And again, there's no excuses when you have a great quarterback that's making $55 million. Joe Burrow is one of the top 3 highest paid quarterbacks in top 4 now because of Dak. Top four quarterbacks in the NFL when it comes to being paid. And here we're going to go again when it comes to these quarterbacks. Trevor Lawrence being another one. Now, he's better than Trevor Lawrence because he's done more than Trevor Lawrence. He actually played in a Super Bowl. Trevor Lawrence got paid $55 million in the offseason. Trevor Lawrence has been in the league for 4 years. What has he done for 4 years to earn $55 million? These quarterbacks are getting overpaid. And then when they get their money, and I'm not saying this is going on with Joe Burrow, but when they get their money, they're not the same player. We've seen so many players get the money in the offseason, the money that they want. And some of them just, they don't care anymore. They don't play as hard. Now, again, I don't believe that to be with Joe Burrow. But the players around him, T. Higgins don't have his contract. Jamar Chase don't have his contract. Now, when you know you don't have your contract, even though you're playing for one, you're thinking in your head, this team doesn't believe in me. This team doesn't trust me. This team is not going to give me the money, and I'm going to have to prove it to all the other teams that I'm playing against. And then he's going out there trying to make plays that he shouldn't be going out there to try to make. Because why? They're trying to get that money. Do you blame these players? I don't. I do not blame T. Higgins or Jamar Chase when they're trying to go out there week in and week out now trying to earn their money. And I blame that on the Bengals. Because if the Bengals figured this out last year, because in my opinion, I would have given T. Higgins his money last year. I would have. I would have paid him last year, and I would have paid Jamar Chase this year. Whatever you're going to do with it, Hendrickson or whatever, whoever you're going to decide that you're going to part ways with. Because look, a lot of these defensive players are not having the season they were supposed to have. So then, knowing that they're not going to have the seasons that they were supposed to have this year, you part ways with them in the offseason. You give Jamar Chase his contract, and then you go into the draft and you look for the defensive player that's going to fill into that position. That's what I would have done if I was the coach or the GM. And I'm not the coach and the GM. I will say this. Jamar Chase is not a top 5 wide receiver. I don't care what anybody says. He's not. He's a top 10, top 7. He's not a top 5 wide receiver because he doesn't do it game in and game out. You want to be considered a top 5 wide receiver, you got to go out there week in and week out and put up those numbers. With the contract or not with the contract, you got to go out there and prove it. He has not done that. He has not done that. As far as the Ravens are concerned, the Ravens got to figure something out here. They got to figure this out. Because this team was supposed to be considered the second best team in the league. I mean, everybody thinks the Chiefs are the best team in the AFC. Some people thought, hey, the Ravens, Chiefs. This was going to be the AFC title game. I don't see it. The Ravens have obviously a lot of problems with whatever's going on in their offense. Derrick Henry's running the ball like crazy. I love what I see with Derrick Henry. What a great pickup. What a great pickup by the Ravens. But everybody else is not playing. Zay Flowers is not playing. He had a decent game yesterday, but he saw the ball like 10 or 11 times. If he doesn't see the ball 10 or 11 times, is there going to be a problem? It looks like there will be. There's no depth. None. And if you have no depth, I know the Chiefs have the NFL on their side, so depth or no depth, they're gonna get a chance to win those games. We're gonna watch tonight against the Saints. They're gonna have a chance to win the game. Why? Because the NFL wants to see them win. But right now, what you see with the Ravens and the Bengals, and even Pittsburgh losing against the Cowboys last night after that rainstorm. And by the way, Dak Prescott is the first quarterback in NFL history to score a touchdown one day and a touchdown in the other day in the same game. He's the first quarterback to ever do that. The game obviously started at 9:45. He scored a touchdown at like early in the game at like his first touchdown was like at 10:20. And then he scored his final touchdown after 12 o'clock. He's the first quarterback in NFL history to do that. Just so everybody knows. It's not a big thing. But
no, it's just an obscure stat. It also applies for an interception too.
Yeah, I know. But it is pretty funny that he's the first player to ever do that in NFL history. I mean, the NFL's been around forever, and that's never happened before. So that's crazy. But then again, even Pittsburgh showing they're not showing up to a big game on Sunday Night Football in a game that if they won, I mean, they look like they're going to run away with the AFC North. I mean, it's still early. And I know everybody's going to say it's only 5 games in, but you see the pace of the league and in each conference and even each division on where everything is going. But right now, it's so confusing because Buffalo looks like, for the first 3 weeks, they're unbeatable. And then in the last 2 weeks, they can't buy a win. They lose against the Texans. They lose against Lamar Jackson on Sunday Night Football. And then they're on a 2-game losing streak. And then Pittsburgh looked like they were a world beater. They were 3-0, and they looked like they're running away with the division. And then they lose against the Cowboys. I think they lost 2 games in a row.
They lost to the Colts last week.
They lost to 2 teams they should have beaten. And now the Bengals started the season so weak, and everybody thought after winning last week, they're going to figure it out and they're going to get back on the horse and they're going to run. They're going to figure it out and they're going to make the playoffs and they're going to make a run for a Super Bowl. They're 1-4. They look like they're out. They're done. Wave the flag. It's all these teams, and you know what? The teams that nobody would have thought. The Broncos. I mean, come on. The Broncos, the Denver Broncos, Bo Nix's Denver Broncos. Look at where they are. I mean, seriously, the Chargers? Who would have thought that the Chargers would be right now in a playoff spot?
All right, Keith, you got 5 minutes. We have a guest that's going to be coming in very soon.
Oh, okay. Hey, well, you overrate the Steelers, man. They're not that good. Who do they beat? You know what I mean? They're not bad, but they got a long way to go. Defensively, they're really good.
There's no great team right now in the AFC.
It's weird.
There's no great team.
Got really weak. Dallas is better than Pittsburgh. I'll tell you that right now. They're a better team.
Well, because Dak Prescott's a better quarterback than
not because Dak Prescott.
You're not going to give Dak Prescott any credit for what he did last night.
No, he played good. He played all right. He didn't play great. He played all right.
He doesn't have as many weapons. You texted me last night.
Listen. He has a lot more weapons than I thought.
Who?
Kyle, but both their receivers play good. The other receivers besides Lamb. Did they not? Their receivers played great last night. They were open. They're quick. I didn't realize that the running back is going to be good too. He's got a lot more weapons than I thought. They look good. You got to be honest. They look good yesterday.
Dak Prescott is so underrated, and everybody wants to pick on him. No. I'm not speaking about you. I have heard many different Cowboy fans tell me that he stinks, get rid of him, he's a loser, blah, 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 blah. And then Dak Prescott shows up on prime time and beats the Pittsburgh Steelers in Pittsburgh. Okay?
They're better than Pittsburgh. They're better.
It doesn't matter. You think they're better, not everybody.
Oh,
I mean, did you see?
Don't you think they're better?
I like Dak Prescott. So my answer to it.
Don't you think that?
I don't know. I don't know. I think Pittsburgh has a better defense.
Will even be there by the end.
I think Pittsburgh has a better defense. I think Pittsburgh has. George Pickens is a pretty good player.
He's all right.
They have a good running game.
He's on my. Hey, speaking about fantasy, dude, Flowers has been great this year, except for 1 week for me. I don't know what you're talking about.
Dude, I have him on my fantasy team. He had
17 points, 16 points.
This week, yeah, he saw the ball 10 or 11
he only
times.
had one bad week. The week before, but that's because Henry ran the ball like crazy. Dude, offensively, I don't know what you're talking about, but Baltimore looks great offensively. It's defensively where they're weak. They've been playing great offensively because they have a running game now. And Bateman's been playing well. You know what I mean? That's the only reason that Flowers, they could go to more, but they're just pounding the ball because they can. I think they're very well balanced offensively this year for the first time. Lamar's played great. Lamar's going to get the MVP.
Zay Flowers in 5 games has 269 yards and 1 touchdown.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Okay.
That's not good.
But they've been pounding the ball.
I'm just saying that's not good. You can say he's doing great.
I know,
in 5 games, that's not good.
Done well.
I mean, if you ask me right now, hold on. Fish, do you think in 5 games, I'm just asking you, Fish, because you play fantasy, and just naturally when you look at these numbers, in 5 games, 269 yards and 1 touchdown, do you think he's playing well?
Because in 1 game, he had a bad
Flex said, I'm sorry, I didn't realize my name was Keith.
No, go ahead. Say yes or no.
No, he's not doing well. He's not getting points.
They ran the ball the whole game, so that's how you have to look at it.
No, but what I'm saying, and he said no, he's not having. When you look at 269 and 1 touchdown,
I don't care what Fish says. He's no expert.
No. What I'm saying, Keith, and I'm just.
And you are.
And he says you are.
Hey, Fish, just like you said, you boys all said that the Yankees don't match out well with the Royals. All they have to do is win one of these 2 games because when they go to Kansas City, they're better on the road.
Okay, Keith, we'll see if they win.
Yeah, we will see.
We'll see if they win.
We
Then
will.
you can come out there and brag if they win this series. Okay?
No.
And if they
forget,
don't,
you can't wait.
if they don't win, you know who's going to be sticking it to you.
Yeah, all of you.
That's you know who's going to be sticking it to you because
believe me better when I talk to you 3 because it's 1 against 3. And
oh
believe me,
stop!
anyway,
Oh
Keith,
stop!
they're gonna
Keith,
make it.
I get my revenge in graphics, Keith. I'm
Would
not
you
going
like,
to say anything to you.
What do you say?
He gets his revenge in graphics.
You got to put your 3 in outer space because you were all dead wrong on that.
What? Dead wrong about what? The Yankees?
About Kansas City not matching.
Well, we don't know what's going to happen.
They won 1 game by 1 run.
Honestly, they didn't play well in that game either.
No, they played horrible. All teams did. The National League is so much better than the American League. It's not even funny.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter when it comes
No,
down
it
to
doesn't.
it. doesn't.
No, we got to make it, but they are. Those 4
As
teams
of
go
right now,
quality.
the National League looks much better than the American League. Right now.
They are better.
Right now.
Mets, Phillies,
Right now, but that
Yankees,
doesn't mean anything.
They are better. Cleveland, how about that? Detroit today, I was a huge win. We want that to go as long as possible.
You
Yankees
make it
first
seem
and
like the
second.
Yankees won already. Come on, stop.
Oh, they're going to win. They're definitely going to win.
Stop
I'm not
with
worried about
this. Stop.
We'll see. We'll see.
Stop. They're going to win. They're going to win.
Yankees are 4.
I'm a Yankee
not
fan,
three.
and I don't think it's a sure thing. I can't bet on that. I'm not
you
going to
actually
bet.
thought they were going to lose.
Yeah, I still think they're going to lose this series.
You're out
So
of
far,
your
they've
mind.
won 1 game by 1 run.
I still think they're
It
going to
doesn't
lose this
matter.
series.
Wait a second. Who gives a shit how many runs to win by?
But here's the thing, Keith. And again, I'm going to go back and look at it. Right now, the Yankees have man on first and second with 2 outs.
Yeah, Stan didn't judge strikeout us. Oh, he's in there. Fuck.
Well, hold
There
on.
we go.
Nope.
There we go.
Oh, look, there he goes. There he goes. There he goes. There he
bitches.
goes. Oh, look at
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
You
there
just
you
said he was going to
go.
strike out, you little
There you
baby.
go.
You little
You did
baby.
too.
You
What were
little
you just gonna
baby.
say?
Stop
What were you
crying.
just gonna say?
Stop crying.
I'm not crying.
Hey,
You're the one saying they're going to lose.
Stop
Not
crying.
me.
Yeah, I still think they're going to lose. I still think they're going to lose this series.
Fan.
I'm a
You're a
horrible.
fan.
I'm an honest
All 'cause
fan.
The Jets did it to you.
Oh, the Jets?
You're
What?
not a realistic fan when it comes to the Yankees.
Oh,
buddy.
stop.
You're not.
Keith, come on.
They're
Stop.
the best team by far with Kansas City. They own the American League Central half the years. We'll see. I'll talk to you later.
I love
Have a good show, boys.
Keep listening
I
to the
love
show.
you guys, too. I
Keep
do. It's
listening
all
to
the
the
fun,
show.
buddy.
Yes. All right. Keith Rooney. I love him. He's out of his mind.
Our next guest,
He's out of his mind.
Our next guest is laughing too because he knows that's very true. By the way, he was actually at Game 1 as well. He's a Royals fan. He was at Game 1 as well.
Listen, there's no guarantees the Yankees are going to win this series. And I told everybody before the playoffs started, the team I do not want to play in the playoffs is the Kansas City Royals. I said it, and I still believe it. Why? Because the Yankees are up 1-0. And by the way, they barely won Game 1. I was DJing Saturday night. I was DJing a 60th birthday party. And by the way, these people know how to party. Shout out to, I'm not going to mention any names because I don't do that. But that family was crazy. They were going crazy. Half these old women were coming up. They probably would slept with me in the back room. I don't know. They were crazy. They were nuts. But I'm happy they had a good time, by the way. But I was watching the Yankee game. I was happy. I was pissed. I was happy. I was pissed. The Yankees just make me want to bite my nails. I cannot watch the New York Yankees. I cannot. I'm a realist. I'm a real Yankee fan. But I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, this is a shoo-in. We're going to kick the Royals' ass. We'll see. We'll see. Anyways, when we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we will be talking to Savannah Bananas co-head coach, our friend Adam Virant. But first, our Sports Minute with Tommy Scoops.
This is the Sports Loudmouth Sports Minute
Are you ready to get loud?
with Tommy Scoops.
It is Monday, folks, and you already know that I am Tommy Scoops to bring you guys the Loudmouth Sports Minute. And starting off with some NFL news, Browns QB Deshaun Watson's latest lawsuit is now over. 4 weeks ago today, a new lawsuit that emerged against Watson is now resolved, meaning that Watson likely won't face any suspension. In other NFL news, the Rams wide receiver Cooper Kupp likely back by week 7. Kupp hasn't even played since week 2, nursing an ankle injury suffered in the game, and is designated to return week 7 after their bye week. Lastly, to wrap things up, Rams QB, fellow Rams teammate Rams QB Matthew Stafford is actually dealing with back soreness. Stafford actually suffered soreness following yesterday's loss to the Packers, but he won't miss any time and is expected to be with the team after their bye week as well. Now going into Scoops' scores. Right now in the MLB, the Yankees currently have a 1-0 lead over the Royals to end the third inning. As currently over in the NFL, the Chiefs currently have a 7-0 lead over the Saints in the first quarter. That is currently all the time I have for you guys right now, so I'm going to kick it back to the boys for their next guest on the Sports Loudmouth.
This is the Sports Loudmouth.
Out of a chalk, just like you. 631 672 3108 is the number to call. You're listening to the Sports Loudmouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Speedy. Speedy, remember, you can listen to our show every single Mondays and Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Well, 7:30 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out our local listings for all our shows is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. I forgot this isn't the Weekend Crunch, but that's what it felt like on 103.9 FM. That was my whole, spiel over there. But hey, you know what? I'm a little lost. I had a long weekend, but I gotta say, we love this guy. He's been on our show before, and he's doing great things with Savannah Bananas. And by the way, there was just a post that I saw on ESPN, I think a week ago, that they're going to be at like 15 new stadiums or something of that magnitude. It's pretty remarkable what they're doing. We are now talking to Savannah Bananas co-head coach, Adam Virant. Adam, what's up, buddy?
Hey, guys. How you doing, man? So glad to be here. And you guys are killing me. There's no greater pastime than men arguing over sports. There really isn't. Like, I mean, politics aside, this is the second greatest waste of human life is arguing over sports. There'll never be a resolution to any of this stuff. So happy to be here with you.
It's crazy because you're a Royals fan. I'm a Yankee fan, and I'm a realist. And a lot of Yankee fans say I'm not a real Yankee fan, just like a lot of Jet fans say I'm not a real Jet fan because I speak the truth and I just lay it down on the line. I'm not gonna sit there as a fan and say, oh, the Jets are gonna be okay. They lose a big game against Minnesota in London, where I think they're the better team. They're playing their old quarterback in Sam Darnold. He didn't have such a great game, and they still. By the way, Kansas City hits a home run. Perez, who kills the Yankees. The guy that kills the Yankees every single time they play the Yankees in Yankee Stadium. So just for, where are you, Keith? Anyways, but I'm a realist. I'm a real Yankee fan. I'm a real Jet fan. And unfortunately, I just don't think on paper, as good as the Yankees are, it means they're just going to run away with this not a divisional game. So it's a lot to get into. So you were at game number 1. What was it like being in Yankee Stadium in front of all those crazy Yankee fans?
Yeah, I mean, Yankee Stadium is great. They got the rabid fans, as you know, just living and dying on every single call. The electricity was amazing. I didn't dare wear any Royals gear there because, I wanted to leave intact, but that game was electric. I mean, I think if Yankees fans thought that they were going to roll through the Royals, they really learned a lesson that this ain't going to be an easy task. I mean, that game was very, very tight. The Royals bullpen, which has been stellar all year round, they failed them, right? Like they had 4 walks. Totally uncharacteristic. And, had that not happened, everybody's talking about Jazz Chisholm at second base. Maybe gets called out. Maybe Bobby Witt gets ball 4 called on him. Doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is that Yankees, it's no easy task in by the Royals. I mean, geez, like Jose Trevino's a good friend of mine. And he's like, Salvi, if we can control Salvi, we're in good stead. And, Salvi just goes and hits home run. I mean, that guy's been around the game forever, and he's only, 32, 33 years old? Yeah. It's not a walk in the park.
Still dominating against New York teams in the postseason. I'm a Mets fan. I remember him winning World Series MVP when they played him then. So I just want to ask you from the whole season perspective with the Royals, and also in terms of a game planning for the rest of the series, like what are the biggest keys for the Royals in order to upset the Yankees built for a 5-game series strategically?
Yeah, I think it's getting to the bullpen that was reliable and holding it down. They definitely need, Bobby Witt to get that big AB, but You know, the Royals surprisingly are pretty balanced top to bottom. You know, they don't have the Aaron Judges or the Sotos that, you know, are going to kind of carry the day for them. They're just going to keep the line moving. And so, you know, keep having good at bats, but that bullpen really needs to show up for them. And that's kind of what failed them. So we'll see what happens tonight.
We are talking to Savannah Bananas co-head coach Adam Virant. And by the way, another single, no outs right now. Rodon is in trouble, and usually now he's throwing a wild pitch. This is where everything starts to the downfall starts to happen for the Yankees. So for all you Yankee fans that thought this was going to just be a runaway win, that doesn't usually happen. But what you've seen so far in the playoffs, and it's crazy what the Mets have done. The Mets beat the Milwaukee Brewers. They were down by 2-0 going into the bottom of the top of the ninth. Then they get two guys on base. They had a 3-run home run. Pete Alonso, gets that 3-run shot, and then they win the game 4-2, knock off Milwaukee. And then they win game 1 against Philadelphia with Zach Wheeler pitching a stellar game. Was unbelievable. Was at the top of his game. And then they lose in the last two innings. The Philadelphia Phillies completely deployed and just fell apart. And then the Mets in game number 2, they were up by a significant amount going into the 7th, 8th inning, and then they fell apart. So what do you think is going on right now with each bullpen right now in the National League and the American League?
I think these teams are so damn good. They really are. I mean, the Mets are hot, and that's the key to having success in the postseason. I think, you know, you have these wild card teams that get hot and they kind of roll, and the Mets, you know, the Mets just don't, they know they can't be beat. Like, they know they're always in a game. And so that's really tough when you have a clubhouse that just doesn't care about the score and they just kind of keep grinding it out. It's the same thing with the Phillies. I mean, this series between the Mets and the Phillies is going to be epic. It's going to be a heavyweight fight back and forth because both teams truly believe that if we have an out left in the game, we can still win this game no matter how far we're down. So, I mean, so Mets Phillies is going to be fantastic. The Royals Yankees, listen, I hope it's a good one. How about the Padres Dodgers? I mean, geez, if there's not blood spilled in that playoff game, I think like I'll be amazed. But that's another heavyweight battle, right? Like the Padres got the best of them, but we know the Dodgers, Ohtani and Betts, like these teams are so good. I think the only shoe-in is going to be the Guardians getting by the Tigers. I think the Tigers are kind of outshot their wad there, but dude, it's this postseason's excellent. I really enjoying it so far.
Yeah, I think they hit Class A too. So you're seeing a lot of these other top relievers even really struggle.
But Class A was hit last year too. I mean, yes, he's an unbelievable, regular season relief pitcher, but in the playoffs, teams figure him out. Nobody's Mariano Rivera. It's very hard to mimic one of the greatest pitchers of all time, the greatest relief pitcher of all time. When people were trying to compare him throughout the season, he's got Mariano Rivera numbers. Okay, he's got Mariano Rivera numbers in the regular season. Let's see what he could do in the playoffs. Mariano Rivera's ERA in the playoffs was under 1. I mean, it's not easy to do that when the pressure's on you and you're playing against the best hitting. So in all of baseball. So
and that leads me to my question. Like you've seen a lot of top relievers struggle. Like he was talking about Devin Williams was the guy who allowed the home run to Pete Alonso. You got Josh Hader who struggled in the past in the postseason, allowing the home run to Bryce Harper and a bunch of other times. Do you think that kind of act is going to die out like the pure closer, these pure top relievers? With you even seeing Edwin Diaz using the 7th inning?
Yeah. I don't know if we're ever going to see another Mariano. Like the big leaguers that I've met who faced Mariano said that hitting big league pitching is tough enough, but Mariano had this ball where you thought it was going to be here, and then it was 6 inches in or away, and it was breaking your bat. And they just could not hit him. And, there's been pitchers that have crazy movement like that, but consistently, and to your point, Errol, like, dude, he never faltered in the postseason. He got better. He got better. And I mean, who's another guy like Trevor Hoffman's of the world, right? He was like probably the next greatest closer type, and he was nowhere Mariano like. So I just don't know if that guy's out there. I think like closers are being used differently now in big leagues. Like Ursik for the Royals, they brought him in the 8th inning to ride him because that's the top of the lineup. I don't know, man. I mean, he was a 1%er of 1%er of Hall of Famers. I don't know if we're going to see another one.
I met Trevor Hoffman during the summer. Speedy knows that. We went to a card show and we did an interview with Trevor Hoffman. And by the way, it's now 2-1 single. So there you go. The Yankees are down 2-1.
Mets legend Tommy Pham.
This is what happens, man. And it's the 4th inning. And again, when Rodon he falls apart. He falls apart. This is not something new that you're watching right now. Carlos Rodon, all season long, he looks good, he looks bad. He looks good, he looks bad. And then when things start to falter, he looks horrible. So I expect the Yankees to pull him in the next. I think if he gives up another 2 hits, he's done. They're not going to keep him in this game. So, but anyways, it's interesting when we watch the playoffs and we compare certain players to certain players from the past. And I want to bring up a player that just passed away and a guy that was mistreated. And you know who I'm talking about, Speedy. You know who I'm talking about?
Mr. Rose.
Yes. And obviously the things that were going on with Ohtani and Pete Rose obviously never really got a chance to see himself go into Cooperstown and get a chance to see see everything that he's done, all his achievements as a major league player, one of the greatest, if not the greatest hitter to ever play professional baseball. And then you see, obviously passes away at 82, 83 years old. And now some people say that the major leagues, MLB, is going to put him in the Hall of Fame probably in the next few years. Do you believe, and I'm asking you an honest opinion because you've been around this game for a very, very long time. Do you believe that even though Rose bet on baseball, do you believe that he should have been inducted into the Hall of Fame earlier in his career than now, where he's never going to get an opportunity to see himself go to the Hall of Fame?
The Hall of Fame the purpose of the Hall of Fame is to tell the history of baseball. And the history of baseball, there's a lot of blood in the water. There just is. And especially if you scratch deep enough below the surface. Pete Rose, one of the greatest hitters of all time, deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Did he screw up? Absolutely. Did a lot of guys screw up? Steroid era, all the way back in the day, shoeless Joe Jackson and all the nonsense that was going on. That is the history of baseball. Part of the history of baseball, by putting Pete in the Hall of Fame, could be telling what he also did wrong, right? So much about learning and living and redemption is, hey, this guy screwed up, but we can't take away his achievements and what he meant to the game of baseball during that time period. And quite frankly, in the legends of Major League Baseball. So, the sports writers and the Hall of Fame voters, it's always just kind of a very mercurial bunch on like what they think and what they don't think. I mean, when you have guys like David Justice getting first pick ballots to go in the Hall of Fame, it's like, what are we talking about, guys? And Pete Rose and these guys who are legitimate legends are just like being, judged. And so I truly believe, I never saw him play, but I'm all about, my kids and my grandkids learning everything about the history of baseball. And Pete firmly belongs in the Hall of Fame, without a doubt.
Yeah, we were discussing the steroid thing last time, but I want to just do the whole controversy element of baseball, which has a very controversial history as it is. Obviously, starting with the Black Sox in 1918, that whole scandal. Yet some of those guys are in the Hall of Fame, and the Spitballs and all the other stuff. So, do you think they're just a hypocritical league, and maybe just like you're saying, the Hall of Fame committee as a whole just is selective?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of factors that go into it. I think there's a lot of politics that go into it, a lot of outcry from a public standpoint. From a human standpoint, nobody likes to feel like they got cheated. And so, public opinion really matters to these voters. And so I think that they like to try to be the voice of the public. Hypocritical, I don't know. I think that's an individual thing. But, baseball, let's not forget, baseball in its history didn't allow, African Americans to play. Right. So, right from the genesis, the beginning of baseball, there was some really, really just kind of like behavior that we wouldn't stand for today. right? And we don't. And we've changed and we've healed and we've corrected some of those mistakes. Did Pete bet on baseball and was that against the rules? Absolutely. Is there a lot of other stuff that has happened that allowed guys to get in the Hall of Fame? Absolutely. But did it affect his ability to produce on the field? Did it affect his records? Not a shot, man. I mean, there's a stronger argument to say that the steroid guys shouldn't get in because they definitely affected what these records are and what these records really mean. Pete screwed up. He was doing what a lot of guys were doing, right? And he was an idiot. He screwed up, but it does not take away from his achievements. It does not take away from his achievements. And so hypocritical, I don't know, man. I just know that humans make decisions for a lot of the wrong reasons. And I think one of the wrong reasons that they've made was decisions they made was not putting Pete in there when he was alive. You know, it's unfortunate.
Yeah, well, by the way, the Yankees are down 3-1 now. So there you go. Now everything's starting to fall apart for the Yankees. And again, Rodon sucks. But guess what? I told you. And now Aaron Boone has to decide. Are you taking him out? I know there's 2 outs left, but this is what happens with Rodon. When Rodon starts to give up runs, now he's taking him out. Finally, taking him out. He just stinks. He just absolutely stinks.
Keith, that puts the run differential at Royals +1.
He just stinks. He just, when he starts to fall apart, he falls apart. But anyways, we are talking to Savannah Bananas co-head coach Adam Virant. So why don't we get into the Savannah Bananas? There was a story that came out recently on ESPN that you guys in your new 2025 season that you're going to play in 18 Major League Baseball stadiums and 3 football stadiums across 40 cities and 25 states. First of all, who sets up your tour? And it's pretty amazing what you guys are doing right now. How did this come about on this tour that you're going to be doing in 2025?
Well, it all starts with Jesse Cole and his vision and wanting to reach more fans and branch out. A lot of the credit goes to Patrick Briotti, our director of World Tour. He's in all those conversations with the executives and the presidents of the clubs. And it really comes down to just taking our show, taking the game to areas where we've never been. So we've never been to the Pacific Northwest. We're able to go to Seattle, right? We've hit the Midwest, but we're going to hit a little bit harder with Kansas City and Chicago. So it really comes down to, hey, where have we not been? Where do we want to go? And more importantly, who's going to work with us? You know, this is a two-way street. This isn't just Metallica coming in because we want to play this big venue. It's communities, it's cities, it's major league ballparks and executives who want the Bananas there, and they want to provide this for their city and their community. So, you know, there's definitely a lot of people at play here, but Jesse has the vision, Patrick has the vision, and hats off to a lot of these executives that are taking a chance on us, because this past year we played in 6 major league stadiums. I know that there was, you know, a lot of anxiety amongst those executives about, could we pull it off? Were we going to be able to pack the place? Were we going to live up to this hype? And we have, you know, all these stadiums that we've been to, the major league stadiums, we're about ready to go to our 6th one and final one in Miami. We've packed the house. They show up early, they stay late. We break records on food and beverage, and we put on a great show, and it's a positive experience. So next year, we're playing in 18 Major League ballparks, 2 NFL stadiums, and 1 college football stadium, Clemson University, 80,000 fans.
Wow. So any new features and or new experiences you're the Bananas introduced this year that the last time you were on the show, maybe they didn't implement right away? Anything new that's going on with that? You know, we had the new rule. I don't know if we announced it when I was on with last time, but it was the golden batter rule, which is the Mike Trout Ohtani rule, where you have one batter can bat anytime in the lineup for anybody at any time. And it's I don't think so. I don't think you announced that one last time.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. We watched the World Baseball Classic and how when Ohtani faced Mike Trout there at the end there, and it was just I think 99% of the TVs in Japan were watching, and I mean I was watching. I think it was one of the most exciting at bats I've ever seen, and we said, you know what, we want to do this. We implemented the golden batter rule. We use it. We see it a lot of times in the most high leverage inning, which is the final inning where every run counts as a point. That's really the newest rule. There's not going to be any new rules announced for next year, but we did announce a new team. We have our 4th team. I don't know if you saw that, but the Texas Tailgaters are going to be joining us next year, man. That's going to be a whole new experience, and that's going to be amazing for the state of Texas to kind of latch onto and make them America's team.
Adam, you look at all the different rules that you have for your game, and I love it. I watched a couple of things on YouTube, the dancing and all these different things that you guys do on the field. You even had a Backstreet Boy at one of your events. He was pretty funny too. Brian, I think it was, and he was dancing and he was singing and all that other stuff. Yeah. How do you guys set up, how these games, it's kind of like, am I wrong? Is it like the WWE? It's all planned. How does this work?
The only thing that's planned is the entertainment. We'll get some guest appearances, former MLB guys, Brian Luttrell, Backstreet Boy. And that's all scripted because we need to script that entertainment. The baseball is 100% legit. That Tim Kirchin said last year, if the baseball is not good, this whole thing doesn't work. And we're lucky to have super high talented players that are constantly pushing the pace on trick plays, constantly trying to get faster and better and put on a show for these fans. And at the end of the day, legitimate baseball guys, we want them to really love coming to games. And if that baseball is not good, if it's not real, they're going to see right through it. And quite frankly, I wouldn't be a part of it. Eric Byrnes wouldn't be a part of it. Roger Clemens wouldn't be a part of it. But they are. And, but the entertainment piece, that's for the fans who are not all in on baseball or banana ball, and they want to kind of be distracted. And we put on a pretty damn good show. It's pretty fun, man. And next year is going to be even bigger with these bigger stadiums. We got double the amount of people to entertain. I don't know how we're going to pull it off, but our entertainment team is second to none, and they're going to pull it off. I know that.
You're already going to get a better audience there than the Marlins do at their games at the rate they're going at right now. All the dysfunction they've had. Yeah, so I just for all the fans that haven't followed the team, some of the notable ex-major league players that you've had in your league, either this year or even in years past.
Yeah, we've had so Jake Peavy was the first one who jumped on board with us 4 years ago, and he's really been the catalyst and a big carrying our flag. And it's just all kind of spiraled from there. Eric Byrnes coached with us. We had I mentioned Roger Clemens, Roy Oswalt, Reddick. We had joined us. We had in Philly. We just had Victorino and Ryan Howard and Jamie Moyer and Blanton and just Jamie. Who else we have? Johnny Damon. We've had these amazing people on and on. And the cool thing is seeing these guys come out and act like little kids, but more importantly, the standing O's, the kind of just the appreciation that the hometown crowd provides to these guys. Jason Kipnis joined us in Cleveland. And Jason played his entire career with Cleveland, except for his final year with Chicago. Happened to be the COVID year. So when he returned back to Cleveland, it was empty. He didn't get that kind of hometown recognition. Then he plays with the Bananas. Packed house. Jason Kipnis comes to bat. Standing O, good minute and a half. Tips his hat. He gets a base hit, comes off the field, and he's like shaking. He's like, that is literally the coolest thing I've ever experienced on a baseball field. This is Jason Kipnis, man. And the coolest thing he ever experienced was getting a base hit in a Bananas uniform, but it's mostly that standing O. So that's really what bringing these special guests back for these big league crowds is to surprise the fans, to give them a unforgettable moment, but also pay homage to the greatness that these guys, gave their heart and soul to these fan bases and really just sent them out with an unforgettable moment. We don't announce any of these special guests. Wow. It's truly a surprise. And a lot of times our players don't even know what's happening. Ryan Howard was the golden batter in Philly. There was probably about 4 people in that entire crowd who knew that Ryan Howard was coming in. And when he took off that gold cape and they announced him, the crowd, it was shaking. I've never experienced that in my life. And yeah, next year is going to be really special because I think we're going to get the major league stadiums, the major league clubs to, really lean in and say, who do you want to recognize? Who's special in your history that you want this for? And, I already know I'm eyeing Ichiro, man. I'm hoping that Suzuki comes out there and gets in that bat out in Seattle, man.
Ichiro Suzuki. We are talking to Savannah Bananas co-head coach Adam Virant. He's been on our show before. We love him. He's doing big things right now with the Savannah Bananas. They're all over the place now. They're becoming stars not only here in the United States, but they're being recognized all over the world. It's so interesting. You were mentioning some of the great people that you have working with you, ex-major league players and movie stars, singers. Everybody's getting involved. Is there a particular artist or movie star or besides a player, because we heard that you want to see Ichiro, but is there anybody that you would love to see at one of your events show up and actually play baseball on the baseball field with your Savannah Bananas?
Yeah, I've been asked this question before, and I'm an older guy, so I'd love to see Kevin Costner come out and do it. I'd love to see Matthew McConaughey come on out and do something. Honestly, anybody that wants to come out, let's do it. But it's got to be based on that city, and that's the biggest thing. John Cena came out in Tampa for us, and I think he's a Tampa guy, and that was really a really cool thing. They have to be able to feel confident in their abilities that they're going to get in and have to face a 90-mile-per-hour fastball. Cena faced Brett Helton, who was throwing 92 miles per hour with a nice little cut action. Didn't really stand a chance, and that's not great. But yeah, man, I'd like to see some of these old timers come out there and do it, and I'd love to see McConaughey out there. So when we go back to Minute Maid, maybe he comes down. George Brett, I'm really from a non actor standpoint, I'm trying to get George Brett out to the Kansas City Kauffman Stadium.
He's at the game right now.
Is he in the Yankee Stadium?
Yeah, they've been popping. They've been pointing at him quite a few times. I don't know if that's his wife or his daughter.
Could be either, right? I want to recreate the whole Pine Tar incident game situation with him, which happened at Yankee Stadium on my birthday in 1984.
I remember that.
Man.
It's crazy.
Legend. Absolutely.
I love, first of all, Robin Yount, George Brett. I mean, I loved watching those guys play in the 80s. I was a young kid. I was like 5, 6 years old. My first sport that I really just fell in love with was baseball. And I was a Yankee fan, but I couldn't stand George Brett because he always killed the Yankees. And Robin Yount, when he played for the Brewers, I mean, he was unbelievable player. So I mean, those are the guys that really stood out to me when I was a kid, and Don Mattingly, because I was a big Donnie baseball fan. So, but it's with all the things that you're doing, you and your partner, and just who what you guys are standing for right now, not only for baseball but entertainment. It's everything is starting. Everybody's trying to bring in this new entertainment scheme, and I'm not saying you guys, but, basketball, 3-on-3 tournament. You see what they're doing right now with Ice Cube, and now they're getting all these old NBA players, Allen Iverson. They're all competing, Tracy McGrady. When you see these things and the different ways that they're trying to promote the sports, what makes your sport and what you guys are doing stand out from all the other entertainment organizations and ex-professional sports and athletes trying to bring a different vibe to their game? What makes you guys different from all the rest?
I think what makes us different is our focus on the fans, and every decision that we make, we ask, is this best for the fans? And then we walk the walk and we talked it. And that, honestly, from walking through, and high-fiving all the fans who line up to get in the game, and signing autographs before, during, and after the game, creating rules specific for the fan experience. We have a 2-hour time limit, and that's just not so we can get out of town. That's because that's kind of the bandwidth that people have to come to a ball game. And so fan catching a foul ball and all the entertainment pieces, literally there's so many things that we do. Everything we do is for the fans, and I think the fans appreciate that. At the end of the day, NBA, MLB, NFL, we're all in the entertainment business. We just lean into it a little bit more, right? Like we're not competing with MLB. They're the greatest players in the entire world.
Right.
And I love watching the greatest players compete against the other greats. However, there's a miss on all these major sports, and they end up throwing money at the problems and trying to fix it, right? Like the 3-on-3 thing with the NBA.
Yes. Yep.
They have more money than God. And getting Allen Iverson, yeah, that's a new thing, and that's kind of like a pet project. It's kind of like Google X, Google having like, hey, let's make flying cars and let's make these things, and it's not their primary product, right? It's just kind of a fun passion project. For us, this is everything. Banana Ball is what we do. And what is Banana Ball? It's bringing joy, happiness, competition, fun back to this sport. I love baseball. I love it. But for this younger generation, they've either never learned to love it like we have, or they are distracted by other things, video games, skateboarding, TikTok, whatever it may be.
Fantasy, money, making money.
Absolutely. They're distracted by these other things. And unfortunately, they're not able to learn and love the game, the nuances of the game that we all know. So Banana Ball is bringing kids back to the game. And hopefully it's keeping kids in the game a little bit longer because it's a little bit more fun. It's a little bit more fast paced. But certainly our live shows, it's bringing families to the ballpark. Again, if you look around, youth participation in baseball has dropped 20% over the past 5 years. That's hundreds of thousands of kids who just decided, I don't want to play anymore. Why is that? Well, golf and tennis are up 30%. It's a lot more fun. It's individualized. They're not getting yelled at by coaches. They're not getting yelled at by umpires. Less stress, right? Banana Ball, there's no yelling. There's no arguing. Sure, it's competitive. Sure, our guys get heated. But we just did our first Banana Ball youth tournament in Cleveland this past year. And the organization that helped run it with us, Athletic Sports Group, they said, we've never run a more smooth tournament. There was no arguing. We didn't have to call the cops on any parents. We didn't have to eject players or coaches or any parents because kids were just having fun. The game was given back to the kids. And I think that's part of what we do such a good job of is we make a game that is fun. We literally engineered a game that we want our professional athletes to have the most fun playing on a field that they've ever had before. And that's going to trickle down to the kids, and that's going to feed everything. It's going to feed them wanting mom and dad to take them to the game. It's going to feed them playing baseball a little bit more. It's going to feed them paying a little bit more attention and engaging with us. And when you have that kind of flywheel going, the sky's the limit here. But at the end of the day, it starts and it ends with the fan. What is best for the fans? We try to keep prices as low as possible. We try to keep things in check. And at the end of the day, we just want to spread joy and happiness for all our fans, man. And I think we're doing that. I think we're doing a pretty good job of it.
Well, I just want to let you know something. We the last time we spoke to you, we were definitely talking about coming to your event. Let's plan something. Speedy will reach out to you in the middle of the beginning of the season, and let's go over. Let's plan something. I would love to go over there and interview some of the guys and have a little bit of fun with your guys. I've watched a bunch of stuff on YouTube. You guys are hilarious, and you got a lot of personalities on the baseball field, and it's very unique. It's something I've never got to experience it, but I had a friend that actually had a chance to experience you guys, and he says not only are you guys fun, but you guys play the game hard, and that's something like you were saying. It's all about putting a good product out there and entertaining the fans, and that's what you guys do. So I want to experience it, and I want to go over there, and I want to hang out with you guys. I think it'll be cool, and seeing what all the work that you guys have put into it over the years and really growing a product that is becoming a world-renowned product, not only just here in the States, but all over the world. I mean, Japan, I know in Japan, they've heard of you guys, everybody. I have a friend that lives in Australia that's heard of the Savannah Bananas. So it's crazy. It is really crazy what you guys are doing, and you're only going to get bigger.
It's we played in front of 1 million live fans, and thanks for your kind words. I mean, that means everything. We just don't want the teeny bopper TikTok kind of followers to embrace us. We want the legitimate sports baseball folks to embrace us. And we played in front of 1 million fans this year. We're going to play in front of 2 million fans next year. We'll be at Yankee Stadium September 13th and 14th. Yeah, I don't think that there's a better place for us to meet up and
absolutely
get to experience firsthand and kind of meet some of our guys. But yeah, man, we're fired up and we do have those personalities. It's hard to get a good, legitimate baseball guy to really buy in, and it starts with their character, and it starts with their personality, and it starts with their just kind of compassion towards each other and the fans. And we have 55 guys on the two teams between the Party Animals and Bananas who are just absolute, just fantastic humans. I can't wait for you to meet them all.
Well, we can't wait to meet you in person and all the guys. And we really appreciate the time. And by the way, you deserve all the kind words because of all the work and dedication that you put into the game of baseball, the love and compassion, and all the guys that, have helped build this to an absolutely sensational game. And baseball needs something like this because there are so many ups and downs that we've seen over the last couple of years. The steroid situation, how it was handled, and now there's this Ohtani betting thing where everybody just, to me, baseball just likes to brush things under the rug instead of being, hit it head on. I think this is a big problem with a lot of these professional sports, and with the CTE thing with Roger Goodell and not doing the right thing behind it. Now all of a sudden doing the right thing behind it. I just think that's what these leagues need. They need things, leagues and entertainment like this that's going to kind of bring a different view to the entertainment part. But you're fantastic. Everything that you guys are doing, I love it. And Speedy will reach out to you. Let's plan something at Yankee Stadium, September 13th, 14th. I'll be there, man. Absolutely. We'll all be there. We'd love to meet you guys and hang out with you guys on the 13th and 14th.
Let's do it. And a little update for everybody listening in: 4-1 Royals.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for pissing me off even more.
There you go. Run differential goes up to +2 now.
Well, I appreciate you guys. Thanks so much for having me on, and reach out if you need anything. And
absolutely,
you guys keep fighting the good fight over there, man. And
thank you, man.
But we'll see you in Yankee Stadium next year.
We will definitely see you, and you keep up doing what you're doing, man, and keep building this, because I think it's just amazing what you're doing, and it's remarkable where you guys came from and what you guys started with, and now playing in front of millions and millions of people, and it's only going to get bigger. So, Adam, we will talk to you soon. Speedy will reach out to you, and like I said, I'm looking forward to meeting all of you.
Speedy, Errol, take care, guys.
Adam Virant, ladies and gentlemen, Savannah Bananas, fantastic, great personality, such a good guy, kind soul. The last time we had him on, we had two guys. It was
it was him and Michael McHenry. Yeah,
McHenry, and they were fantastic. We're still waiting for Jimmy.
Yeah, I've texted him a bunch. We'll see.
Hopefully, Jimmy will join us. I know Jimmy's a busy guy, traveling a lot, so hopefully, we get Jimmy Leyritz on the show. He was supposed to join us at 9 o'clock, but hopefully, in the next few minutes, we'll get Mr. Jimmy Leyritz on the show. I know he's probably watching the Yankee game and throwing up as well as I am. So I'm sure he's not in one of those moods to even talk about baseball with us. But anyways, I almost knocked my mic off. Stefon Diggs said that he took it personally after the Texans beat the Bills in Week 5 for how the Bills treated him. Diggs also added that he wanted to do more showing than telling against his former team. Diggs said he tried to hold back his emotions, but always had that game circled on the calendar, specifically against Josh Allen and Sean McDermott. Diggs had 6 catches for 82 yards after number 1 receiver Nico Collins suffered a hamstring injury. Sean McDermott got a lot of criticism for clock management after the Bills threw the ball 3 times late in the game with the ball almost in their own end zone. This led to the Bills having to punt with a bad field position, and the Texans eventually a game-winning field goal. Damian Woody said it was disgusting how the Bills managed the end of the game and forced Josh Allen to be Superman. Stephen A. Smith said that Sean McDermott taking responsibility was the only thing he did right yesterday, and his coaching was a fireable offense. So fireball offense. But here's the thing, and Speedy, you don't have to put all these things that I've told you not to do. Here's the thing about what I watched in the Buffalo Bills game, and what's really interesting. Josh Allen has to do everything. This isn't the same offense it was last year. They don't have Stefon Diggs. They don't have Gabe Davis this year. They have a weaker offense, and they got to run the ball more this year, and they have run the ball more this year. The thing is that this has been the problem all season long for the Buffalo Bills. When they fall behind, they depend too much on Josh Allen's legs. But continues playing this way, he's going to get an injury, a bad injury. And just like you've seen what happened in Miami for 8-9 weeks, maybe even longer, because of the concussion situation, because they depended too much on his play, his playmaking. If there's nobody getting open, or they're having a problem moving the ball, or even getting Tyreek Hill in the right spots to catch the ball. So unfortunately, right now, I don't really care what Denny and Woody is saying. I don't really care what Sean McDermott's saying at the end of the game. The problem right now lies in the gameplay, the game planning in the game. And at the end of the game, obviously they didn't put Josh Allen in the right position to win, and obviously the Bills didn't play very well throughout the game. The second half, Josh Allen had to be Superman to make plays, and he did make plays in the open field. But the problem is the Texans are a very good team, a very talented team. Their defense has not played well this year, but their offense with Nico Collins, he's one of the best wide receivers. When Nico Collins went down, Stefon Diggs had to take over. And did he take over? Was he amazing against the Buffalo? No, he wasn't amazing. He had six catches for 82 yards. But he did enough, and he played well enough where he could stand there and say, he marked his calendar. Now, if Stefon Diggs did not show up in the game and didn't have 6 catches for 82 yards and played decently, well, then obviously the Bills and the Bill fans are going to, stick it to him. But Stefon Diggs did not want to be in Buffalo. We all know he didn't want to be in Buffalo. He has some kind of, hatred for Josh Allen. Even when they shook hands at the end of the game, he kind of, and everybody posted it, he gave, Josh Allen a kind of a look that, it looked like he just couldn't stand him. Now, what I respect about Josh Allen is pretty simple. Josh Allen doesn't go out there and throw anybody on the bus. Josh Allen doesn't beat anybody up. Josh Allen goes and plays the game. He plays the game hard, and win or lose, he's going to play his game. And the problem with Stefon Diggs, you don't know what Stefon Diggs is going to do in a game. You don't know when he's going to show up and when he's not going to show up. And that's because Stefon Diggs is a prima donna. And the one thing I could say, and CJ Stroud actually played well in the game, especially in the first half. He didn't play as well in the second half as he did in the first half. And that gave Buffalo an opportunity to come back in the game. What I could say about CJ Stroud that I did not see last year is his commitment to a specific part of the game. Now, if he's committed to the run, he's going to run the ball. If he's committed to the throw, he's going to throw the ball. And this year, he's become more of a veteran at doing that. Last year, it was all about, his God-given talent. He was a rookie. He took chances. This year, he's not taking as many chances as he did last year. He didn't make a lot of mistakes last year. He's made quite a few mistakes, but not mistakes where it stands out, where you're saying he's not having the season he had in his rookie season. And he said that he was going to hit a wall one way or another, but he's becoming a veteran. You can see the way he's playing the game. You can see the way he sees the field now. He's throwing his checkdowns. He's throwing the ball down the field when he sees guys making the right plays in the open field. So I just think the confidence level of this kid and everything that I thought might have been a problem this year going into his sophomore year hasn't been a problem. I think he's been more confident. He's confident about his teammates. He's confident before Nico Collins went down. He was confident in him. He's confident in every single part of his game. And I think that you could see the difference on the field for the Texans.
Yeah, you look at Diggs with the way that he had to get into a new role in this offense, like slot guy right away. Now, not that the Bills didn't play him in the slot, but he kind of had to buy into that kind of thing because of the way his ego worked. And so far, you've seen it not be as big of a deal for him. But at the same time, he's also making these comments, oh, I'm going to take this game personally. Then all of a sudden, you have the meme with Josh Allen and Stefon Diggs at the end of the game that went viral very quickly, too. So, yeah, he's trying to be level-headed at the same time. Yeah, is he really progressing in that way, or is he just want to stick it to the Bills is another question. As far as Sean McDermott, yeah, that was really bad. That was something you never really see out of him. Sean McDermott's also been too conservative in the past, and he kind of went to the other extreme, forcing Josh Allen to try to throw the ball out of his end zone.
He made mistakes. Every coach makes a mistake. That wasn't the reason why they lost the game. Okay.
No,
it wasn't the reason why they lost the game. The first half was horrible. The Buffalo Bills did not show up in the first half. They did not. And that really cost them the game because then they played catch up. They depended on Josh Allen. It's just eventually it's going to catch up to them. If they put Josh Allen in harm's way, he's a fantastic talent. You see Josh Allen. He's a big, strong guy. He can move inside and out of the pocket. He can run. He's got a lot of speed for a big man. But these guys, these linebackers are hitting him hard. He's taking a big beating out there. And eventually he's going to take a beating where he could be out a couple of weeks. And what are they going to do without Josh Allen? Who are they going to play? Mitchell Trubisky? Who's their backup? I mean,
I believe
seriously,
it is, yeah.
I mean, you can't trust Mitch. And I'm just speaking the truth. He can't do the things Josh Allen could do in the open field. So they got to protect Josh Allen. They can't depend on Josh Allen's legs to win games. They have a competent running back in Cook. So they should be, and we've seen Cook all season long so far. He ran all over Miami a couple of weeks ago. Why aren't they giving him the ball even more? And again, when you fall behind the way you do, you got to start throwing the ball because you can't depend on the run as much as you do all season long. So again, I look at right now the Bills. The Bills lost 2 games in a row. The Jets lost 2 games in a row. Miami is not good because they don't have Tua. We all know where the New England Patriots. This division went from one of the best divisions in football to arguably one of the worst divisions in football. It really isn't a good division. Aaron Rodgers is a shell of himself. Josh Allen's playing good football. He is. It's not Josh Allen's fault that the talent around him is not that good. And Coleman's been a lot better than anybody thought he was going to be, but he's not enough. They didn't give Josh Allen enough weapons. Shakur is a good player. He's not Gabe Davis.
He was hurt in that game. So.
It doesn't matter. When he is on the field, Shakur is not Gabe Davis. He was the 3rd or 4th option for them last year. What makes him a number 1 option or number 2 option? The tight end play this year has not been as good as everybody thought it was going to be. So you're depending more on Josh Allen to make the play in the open field with his legs. And again, you're putting him in harm's way. You got to protect your asset. You got to protect your franchise. And I'm going to tell you this right now. Sean McDermott, going into the season, he was on the hot seat, and we're heading into the early to mid-season right now, where it worries me that both teams, the Jets and the Buffalo Bills, they're going to be fighting for this one spot, and whoever makes it is going to make it, and whoever doesn't is not going to get that wild card spot because there's too many other teams that are iffy on the cusp right now. You have Baltimore, they're up, they're down, they're up, they're down. The Bengals are 1-4. They look like they're completely out. You have Pittsburgh, they've been up really the first 3 games, and in the last 2 games they've lost. You have the Chargers, you have Kansas City, you have all these, even the Broncos. There's so many teams right now. Indianapolis, Jacksonville. I mean, Jacksonville sucks, but you know what I mean. The Texans. I mean, there are so many teams that are cusp teams, and most of these teams have 2 wins. So it's just a matter of time where I looked at the AFC East, where I thought the AFC East was going to have maybe 2 or 3 teams come out of the AFC East. I don't see that. I think there's going to be one team that's going to come out of the AFC East because of how close together all these teams are this season.
Yeah, and it's definitely one of those things that you look at McDermott, like it was thought of maybe he was on the hot seat 2 years ago because the Bills were favored by double digits in a lot of these games. You never saw that kind of thing, even in this legal betting era that we're seeing now. And they are underwhelmed in a lot of areas. They lost a lot of these close games. And then last year, too, of all the play calling in the fourth quarter of the playoff game against the Chiefs. Yeah, maybe they got screwed in certain instances, fine, but running a fake punt is not
talent.
ideal.
It's not coaching. I think Sean McDermott is a good coach. I do. I think he's a good coach.
No, I do too. And I think that's why I think this year is kind of that transition year. Now, I don't know.
And he's on a hot seat this year. It's a transition year, and it's there you have put him on the hot seat. Anybody that doesn't believe Sean McDermott's on the hot seat, watch last season, watch what happened in the playoffs. You can see that he's on the hot seat. He needs to win this year. He needs to get this team in the AFC title game. Making the playoffs isn't enough. And could you imagine if they come short? Let's say the Jets beat them on Monday Night Football and the Jets pull away and win this division, and the only team that comes out of this division is the Jets. Sean McDermott's going to get fired.
Oh, yeah.
There are like 3 or 4 really good coaches that are going to be available next year. You don't think Bill Belichick would be interested in coaching Josh Allen? I mean, we were just talking about Minnesota and Brian Flores. Could you imagine? Brian Flores is definitely going to get another job the way he's coaching this team. I mean, he could get that offer too. I mean, we've talked about Vrabel. Vrabel's a good coach. He's still available right now. Vrabel could take that job. There are quality coaches that are going to be available this offseason. And again, another guy, right now, the offensive coordinator for the Lions, Ben Johnson, who didn't take a job this offseason because he wanted the big bucks and nobody was going to pay him the big bucks. So he decided to go make another run with the Lions. He is definitely going to get a coaching job at the end of the year. So there are going to be like 4 or 5, maybe even 6 jobs available and quality. This is the offseason. If you're going to be looking for a coach, this is the offseason to hire a coach because they're quality coaches, not offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators that are new to this position or new to a head coaching job. There's about 4 or 5 of them that have had head coaching jobs and have been successful in the NFL.
And it's weird because McDermott has been a good culture stabilizer. He's been good at working to get the best out of his players too, because the Bills have been drafting in the middle and the late first rounds a lot of the time, and they've still been able to make a lot of players work. Now, again, like I said, he's been conservative at certain points. He's been iffy game planning at certain playoff games, but now it seems like he's just jumping to weird extremes with this kind of thing in the playoffs, and now this game managing against the Texans at the end of it. Like, definitely not ideal. You're talking about James Cook. James Cook was running well the whole game. Like, why not have him run out of the back of the own end zone and try to make something work with that? All right, I'm going to bring Fish in because he said he has a lot to say about McDermott.
I have a ton to say about this. This is what he did at the end of that game is one of the worst things I've ever seen as a play calling coach. And I don't know if it's Joe Brady calling the offense and him not overruling it or what it is, but you cannot, in a tie game, backed up in your end zone, drop back in the end zone in shotgun and just chuck it downfield, not even in like underneath routes, just trying to chuck it downfield 3 straight times. He's in danger of a safety. He doesn't have time to let the routes progress. So there's no point in doing that. That's crazy. It doesn't work. It was one of the, they were trying to lose the game by getting sacked in the end zone. You're absolutely right, Speedy. James Cook, look, Stefon Diggs left because he didn't get the ball thrown to him when Joe Brady was changed to being the offensive coordinator halfway through the season. Well, now they change. Now he's the full-time guy, and he's throwing it out of the end zone at the end of the game when they're tied. I don't know what the heck he's doing, and I don't know why McDermott's not saying, "What are you, nuts?" No,
but that was, and I agree with you. I mean, the play calling at the end of the game was putrid, but that wasn't the reason why they lost the game. I mean, the beginning of the game, the way they were playing defensively, offensively, the way and it's not all Sean McDermott's fault on why they lost the game. They just didn't produce early in the game, and their offense was flat. The offense was flat in the beginning of the game. So it's not all Sean McDermott should take, obviously, responsibility. He's the coach of the team, and the play calling at the end of the game. I mean, I would have ran the ball. I wouldn't have put myself in that position. I would have got myself out of the end zone in the first play of that, of the, what do they call that?
The drive?
No, the drive. Yeah, the first play of the drive. Maybe the first 2 drives, I would have ran the ball. I would have given the ball to Cook, let him run the ball or gave it to Josh Allen, get him out of that position, and then chuck the ball down the field and try to get more 10 to 12 yards. So you put yourself in a better position to kick it to the 40 or 30-yard line on the other side of the field. So just a lot of mistakes, but at the end of the game, but that wasn't all Sean McDermott's fault. I just think there was a lot of things that happened in the game that you can blame it on a lot of different people, but nevertheless, the Buffalo Bills have lost 2 games in a row, and now they're going into Monday Night Football with the Jets, who's lost 2 games in a row, have a chance to fight for sole custody of first place.
Look, I still think it's crazy. I think the reason why they threw it is because they had 3 timeouts. So they had 3 timeouts. Big deal. You can run. They're going to call timeout if you run the ball. Still run the ball. It's not like you don't have to run the ball. Get out of the back of the end zone. On that 3rd down, Allen gets hit when he's throwing 6 yards deep in the end zone. I mean, what are you doing? And then because of that, you punt it from the back of the end zone, so you can't get a great punt. So it gets more of a line drive, and he's able to return it, and they're able to get in the field goal range and beat him. That is all on the coach. Now, I agree. There's a million other things that happened in the game as to why they lost. But specifically, they lost in that scenario only because of the coaching.
Yes.
And that was horrendous and arguably a fireable offense. I do agree with you, Speedy. I think he's considered one of the better player development coaches out there, teacher of technique, especially on the defensive side of the ball. They always seem to reload with guys you never heard of, the Bills, because he knows how to coach football. Not everyone who knows how to coach football knows how to call a game, though. And I think he's exposed himself year after year as being a bad game caller. He just isn't great at it. He should have been better here.
He made mistakes, and now you're going into another weekend and another week where you're going to have to win this game. And again, the Jets are in the same boat as the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills now are going into Monday Night Football where they must win because they're not on a 3-game losing streak. And then the Jets, being that they're at MetLife and they're a home team, they need to win that game too, because they cannot go into MetLife, lose 3 games in a row and expect to make the playoffs going 2-4. So it's a big game for both teams. Now, if the Jets lose the game, they're 2-4. If the Jets win, they're 3-3, and they've won 2 divisional games. If Buffalo loses, did Buffalo win their first divisional game? I think they did. I think they did win. They won their first. But so either or, one of these teams are going to be 2-0 in the division. The other one's going to be 1-1. So this is a big game for both teams, because win or lose for both teams, it puts them in a bad situation. So during the Browns' loss against the Commanders, there was a lot of controversy with Deshaun Watson storming off the field when Kevin Stefanski wanted to go for it on 4th down. The Browns were down 24-3 at the time of the 3rd quarter, and the Browns had to waste a second timeout and settle for a field goal. Stefanski and Watson were seen arguing on the sidelines, and many Browns fans believe Watson has already quit on the team. Since 2000, Deshaun Watson has the 7th worst EPA, expected points added, among any quarterback through their first 5 weeks of the season. Since 2000, the Browns offense is 9th worst EPAs per drive. Stefanski says they will stick with Watson as the starting quarterback, saying everybody on the offense has to play better and he has to coach better. Who's calling? Is somebody calling right now? No. Well, somebody's doing it. Somebody's shaking it or something like that. But anyways, the Browns look terrible. They look horrible. Now, I don't know what's going on with this, this team. Stefanski was one of the best coaches in the league. He was the coach of the year last year. And maybe it was Joe Flacco. Maybe Joe Flacco changed everything for this team, bringing in a veteran. What are you pounding for? I think he's pounding. Was it the Yankees? I'm not watching the Yankee game. I'm watching the Chiefs game. So did the Yankees hit a home run? What's going on?
No, definitely not. They just lined into a double play. It was a great job.
Who lined the
Royals.
All right. Well, speak up here. You're pounding like the Yankees won something. Anyways, here's the thing. Stefanski is not going to be fired at the end of the year. This guy is one of the best offensive minds right now in the NFL. This is a team that has a lack of offense. Amari Cooper getting hurt in the middle of the game. I think he got hurt in the third quarter. He was playing hurt throughout the game. And also, they just don't have a secondary wide receiver that can catch the ball. They thought Elijah Moore was going to be that. Elijah Moore is not anywhere close to the player that anybody thought he was going to be. The Jets picked him in the second round. The Jets traded him to the Browns thinking that he was the second guy. He's not. Then they made a move in the offseason for Jerry Jeudy, a guy that was a first-round talent with the Broncos. They brought him to this organization and this team. Jerry Jeudy's not having a good year as a secondary wide receiver. This is the problem right now. The Browns have been depending on their running game for years, and they have Amari Cooper, and that's it. They don't have any secondary wide receiving, secondary wide receivers that can go out there and get the ball. And that's been the problem over the last couple of years. Now, with this team, Deshaun Watson obviously brings a bag of whatever. It's a lot. It's a lot to look at a player that's been just, been the center of everybody's view over there with Cleveland after being traded to the Texans, after what the Texans got back from the Browns and what they paid him after that. They gave him guaranteed money. The Browns put themselves in a really bad position. Now you have a guy like Deshaun Watson where you have to pay him. You gave him guaranteed money, and now you got to stick with him because even next year, if they decide to drop Deshaun Watson, that's going to cost them a significant amount of money through their cap. So I don't care what their EPAs are. I don't really care about those statistics. That doesn't mean nothing. What means to me is what they're doing on the fucking field, okay? And what I've seen over the last couple of weeks and what I've seen in the last couple of months in the last 2 years is Deshaun Watson has lost the team. And Stefanski looks like he's pleading with Deshaun Watson to run his offense and to do the things that he wants him to do in the open field. And Deshaun Watson is a shell of who he was when he was with the Texans, a shell of what he was offensively, what he was with the Texans. He is now trying to figure out his game and where his game lies now as a 30-year player. When he was in his 20s and he was a young player where he was using his legs and he was throwing it with the accurate ability that he had, and he could throw the ball down the field. He doesn't have that ability anymore. So, and the Browns played Jaden Daniels, who is one of the best quarterbacks, young quarterbacks right now in the NFL. If not one of the best quarterbacks right now in the league. Jaden Daniels has put those numbers up to, you can argue. I mean, what CJ Stroud did last year, we might never see. But what Jaden Daniels is doing with his legs and his arm strength, he's not putting up like 300 yards every single week. He's not doing that. But it's the way he stands into the pocket, his confidence in the pocket, and the way he makes the plays with his legs. He's unbelievable. And he is a better version of RG3. That's what he reminds me of. He's just RG3 had a great arm, and RG3 was great with his legs because he was a track and field runner. Jaden Daniels is great in both categories, but the one thing that Jaden Daniels has is he's accurate with his arm. Like, he is strong accurately. So RG3 wasn't accurate. He was strong. So, and he was depending on his legs more. Jaden Daniels is not doing that. He's standing in the pocket. He's very confident. And Dan Quinn was the perfect coach. Dan Quinn was the perfect coach. And bringing in Kingsbury, Kingsbury, I just think the confidence level that Jaden Daniels has right now as a quarterback, and he doesn't have superstars around him. Who's his star wide receiver? McLaurin? I mean, there's nobody out there that I could say, oh my God, that guy is a killer. They don't have those kind of guys, but they have weapons in so many different. They have two good tight ends. They're not great tight ends. They're two good tight ends. They have three good wide receivers. McLaurin is a borderline, number one. I would say he's a 1B. He's not a 1A. So they don't even have a number one, and they're still putting up the numbers. They're the best team right now in the NFC East. There's no argument to that. And the NFC East is a lot better than anybody thought. Who would have thought that the Eagles are the worst team, or were going to be the worst team right now in the NFC East? Because they are. They are the worst team right now in the NFC East. The Giants have played better the last couple of weeks. The Cowboys have played a little bit better. And we all know what the Washington Commanders are. And the NFC East is a lot better than anybody thought it was going to be this year, because it really was. It was up to the Eagles and the Cowboys. Now the Eagles look like they don't have any confidence defensively. The coach is on the hot seat. Kellen Moore's just horrible as an offensive coordinator. I mean, and Jalen Hurts is really the only person that looks like he's confident up at week by week that's going to go out there and be a leader for the Eagles. So it's amazing how one player, a quarterback, a young quarterback, is really changed everything for the Washington Commanders. It really is amazing what they're doing right now. And congratulations to Dan Quinn. I think he's a great coach. He deserves a lot of credit because he's built this team where last year in the second half they played better defense, but they lost a lot of defensive pieces. They traded a lot of them away. And look, Dan Quinn came here with the pieces that he had and really didn't really add much in the offseason except through the draft and maybe a couple of free agents. And this defense is way better than it was in the second half last year after trading away all the pieces that they had. It is absolutely amazing what Dan Quinn is doing right now.
Yeah, Washington was one of the worst historically defenses last year. They had no pass rush, no secondary.
They played better in the second half.
They played a little better in the second half, fine, but like their overall stats were still not great. And he definitely made them a competent enough defense. I'm not saying they're amazing. Obviously, they're still probably below average in terms of the whole league, but they're playing a lot better and they're bending, not breaking. And Jaden Daniels, he's the culture changer that Washington needed. Then you go to the other extreme. The Browns have been looking for that culture changer guy for years. And it's one thing to fall off a cliff and be washed up, but Deshaun Watson might have been the biggest fall from grace we've ever seen a quarterback have. You thought a top 5 quarterback at the time when he was with the Texans.
I did.
And you thought he was like, if it wasn't for Aaron Rodgers, that MVP candidate year in 2020, like he probably wins the MVP that year, or 2019, I believe it was actually. But he's all of a sudden now become the worst contract we've seen in sports, not just in football, in all professional sports. He's clearly got the players the wrong way because they made the playoffs last year with 5 different quarterbacks, including him. But let's be honest, Watson had one good game last year. That was against the Ravens, that a very impressive comeback. That was it. And they rallied around all these other quarterbacks to try to make that kind of thing work. I think he's definitely deterring that culture as a whole. And the EPA stat, let's put in factor all the companies.
Why do you put the EPA? Nobody care. I don't really care about these statistics that you're giving. EPAs mean nothing to me. I care about, do you think in the 80s anybody cared about the EPAs? Do you think anybody in the 90s cared about the EPAs? I don't care about that. And I don't know why you even put that on the sheet. Nobody gives a crap about it. It's the eye test. What we've seen and what we're seeing right now with the Washington Commanders and what they're doing, what they're producing because of this young kid who really I didn't think was going to take off the way he has done as early as he has. I expected him to be a good quarterback. A lot of people thought he was going to be a good quarterback. The Giants wanted to move up to get him. And look, Caleb Williams too. You could see he's starting to grow into the quarterback position with Chicago. Look what he's done in the last 2 weeks. I think both these quarterbacks, Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, even Bo Nix, look, he's winning right now with the Broncos. He's not putting up, crazy numbers, but he's doing enough to win for his team. I don't care what his EPA is. I don't care what the team is doing with the PFF. It's the eye test. And what I've seen is the Broncos believe in Bo Nix, and so does the coach. Jaden Daniels, all his teammates trust in him, and so does the Commanders coaching staff. And right now, Caleb Williams, even though I can't stand Eberflus as a head coach, every single one of his teammates believe that any given day or any given Sunday or Monday or Thursday, if you have Caleb Williams healthy on the football field, they can win. That's all I care about with this stupid EPA crap.
Just to put it in perspective, Ryan Leaf had a better year in one of his years than Deshaun Watson's having this year. And I think the only quarterback that's worse currently is
give
Will
me
Levis.
These statistics that nobody even, I could care less. Who the hell, besides statisticians, okay, who the hell looks at EPAs? Do you look at EPAs? Do you look at EPAs? Nobody gives a crap about EPAs. All you care about is when the team gets on the football field, are they playing for that quarterback? Do they believe in that quarterback? That's all they care about. Do you think the Browns believe in Deshaun Watson? They don't. They can't stand him. Stefanski can't stand him. They can't stand him. That team is the only reason why Deshaun Watson has a job right now. Here's the reason why. Ownership gave him guaranteed money. That's it. They gave away their future for this idiot who doesn't keep his hands in his pants. I mean, he doesn't keep his hands out of his pants, or he's forcing other people to put their hands in his pants. And the problem with him is pretty simple. The guy can't make a throw anymore. He doesn't understand how to play the football game anymore. The guy is clueless. He's better off sitting on the sidelines and just waving to the fans and signing autographs. He is not a quarterback. They should have kept Joe Flacco. I think they made a big mistake. Look what Indianapolis is doing right now with Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco threw over 300 yards yesterday. Indianapolis is winning without Richardson. Why? Because Joe Flacco is a winner. And Joe Flacco has the fans. He has, not the fans, he's got his teammates believing in his ability to throw the ball. That's it. That's all you need. If you have a quarterback that can make every single throw and go out there week by week and make those throws, it doesn't matter what their damn EPAs are. Jesus.
It's the owners. It's the owners of the Browns' fault, guys. You're absolutely right, Errol. It's not. It does not matter with the stats. Just one thing about EPA, Speedy, is I there's like benchmark numbers for it. I don't really think that's important. I just like looking at, is it going up or down from last year?
Is. I
It's
just
basically the war of football. It's like that type of thing. So they had, they came up with something. And look, is it better or worse than it was the last couple of years? If it's going down, that means he's starting to suck. And guess what it looks like for Deshaun Watson? He's starting to suck. But the better question is why. It's not like he wasn't a great player and then he only played for a little bit and then it fell off a cliff because of the legal issues. I don't know if that's the case. I think it's more about something that you were saying, Errol. Do they want to play for him? When he was on the Texans and when he was in college, the energy that he had when he played, it was electrifying. Guys wanted to play for him. It looked like everyone was pulling for him. And guess what it looks like now? The exact opposite. And it's so ironic that they played against the Commanders where you could see that Jaden Daniels has that same kind of energy coming into the league and has that same kind of skill set, arguably better than what he had. It's really sad that Browns team is they're stuck on the hook. They can't get out of that cap for the next 3 years. They're screwed.
And they're screwed. And that's what I'm saying. It's all, I don't care what statistics would tell you and what the NFL, they have all these new statistics. Baseball has WAR and this and that. I don't give a crap. All I care about is what I see on the field. And what I've seen right now with this Browns team, they don't believe in Deshaun Watson as a quarterback anymore. His teammates don't believe in him. And that you could see the way they're playing on the field. Even the defensive players, you could see they don't want to play for him. They can't stand the guy because the guy has checked out. Jaden Daniels is going out. This is a rookie. You see when every mistake or when they're making plays in the open field and they're stepping on the sidelines, they're talking to him. They're having fun. They look like they're just completely energized. Same thing with Joe Flacco with that team with Indianapolis right now. Go watch what they're doing right now. Joe Flacco takes over for Richardson. They couldn't buy a yard. Now he's putting up 300 yards. They're scoring touchdowns and they're winning football games. This is a completely different team. You could see the difference when your team trusts the player behind center. Look at the Jets right now. I believe right now his teammates don't. Besides Alan Lazard, I don't believe that the other wide, Garrett Wilson, even Mike Williams or Conklin or any of those guys believe that Aaron Rodgers is going to find his way out of this or find his way into the end zone the way he has done with Green Bay year in and year out. I think that the way he is and the way he brings himself out there, on the sidelines, not talking to the teammates. Before we get to Jimmy Leyritz, I just want to tell you guys something. I don't know if anybody knows this. In the second quarter, when things were going wrong, when he threw his second interception, the guy that was going to the offensive side, the offensive lineman, and talking to the receivers, it was Tyrod Taylor, not Aaron Rodgers. Just so you guys know that. I don't know if anybody was watching it. It was Tyrod Taylor talking to the offensive line. He was Tyrod Taylor talking to Garrett Wilson and trying to get these guys pumped up and telling them that the game isn't over. It wasn't Aaron Rodgers. That, to me, is a problem. When your star quarterback, your leader that everybody wanted there and wanted there for the last 2 seasons, and because he got hurt last year and now this year, the problem problem going into the offseason because he didn't want to show up to a couple of practices and how the press attacked him. Now you're seeing the situation right now where the season is starting to implode, and now who they're pointing fingers at, the fans are pointing fingers at, they're pointing their fingers at Aaron Rodgers because of all the things that were happening off the field. So it's just a lot of things. It's all about trusting your quarterback and your leader. When we come back, ladies and gentlemen, we will be talking to former 11-year MLB catcher Jimmy Leyritz. But first, our Sports Minute with Tommy Scoops.
This is the Sports Loudmouth Sports Minute.
Are you ready to get loud?
With Tommy Scoops.
No other segment of the Loudmouth Sports Minute with me, Tommy Scoops, and more NFL news. The Texans wide receiver Nico Collins is considered to be week to week. After leaving yesterday's win versus the Bills with a hamstring injury, Collins is likely to be out week 6 matchup versus the Patriots. In other news, the Eagles are set to open practice window for safety Sidney Brown and rookie wide receiver Ines Smith. Brown, who tore his ACL last season, and Smith, who injured his ankle in the preseason, are expected to take practice sometime this week. As lastly, the Cardinals announced rookie defensive lineman Darius Robinson is set to return from IR. Robinson, who actually suffered a calf injury during the offseason, is expected to return to practice on Wednesday. Now time for Scoops to Scores. As over in the MLB, the Royals currently have a 4-1 lead over the Yankees at the top of the 7th, while over in the NFL, the Chiefs currently have a 16-7 lead over the Saints at halftime right now. That is currently all the time I have for you guys right now, so I'm going to kick it back to the boys for their next guest on the Sports Loudmouth.
This is the Sports Loudmouth.
The harder the better, right? Not embracing your now. Just like you. Duh. Goodbye.
631-672-3108 is the number to call. You're listening to the Sports Loudmouth. I'm your host, Errol Marks, my co-host, Petey. Remember to go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. Check out all our shows throughout the week, and you can listen to the Loudmouth every single Mondays and Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. All you have to do to tune in and check out your local listing for all our shows is go to our website at www.worldwidesportsradio.com. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we've been waiting for him. He's a busy guy. We're now talking to former 11-year MLB vet and one of the best, one of the greatest Yankees, as we remember, and one of my favorite Yankees of all time, Jimmy Leyritz. Jimmy, what's up, buddy?
Good. How you guys doing? Sorry it's a little loud here, but I'm at the stadium, so and I'm watching this 4-1 mess right now.
It is a mess. And Jimmy, we've met before. We've been at a couple events together, and I know you're a busy man, and there's a lot to get into with your thoughts of the New York Yankees. Game number 1, obviously the Yankees win 6-5. Garrett Cole didn't have his best stuff, but the Yankees found a way to win those games. And the old Yankees, if you remember in the 96 and those great Yankee teams in the 90s, they always found a way to win. You going into this series, there was something about the Kansas City Royals that scared me. Their pitching, their relief pitching, they have all their pitchers in their bullpen throw 98 miles per hour. They have a tremendous bullpen, and Perez always kills the Yankees. You're going into this game, and who gives them their first run? Perez smacks a home run. I mean, he's a career 300 hitter in Yankee Stadium. What were your thoughts going into this game? Did you think that the Yankees were going to go up 2-0 going into Kansas City?
Well, no, they struggled during the season against Riggins before the starter for Kansas City today, and he once again went out there and dominated them. And we've got to figure out, number one, how to get Aaron Judge to hit in the postseason a little bit better than he's done in the past. And so far, that hasn't worked out. But I'm also watching Bobby Witt Jr., who won the batting title, who's 0 for 9 this series. So the one thing about the postseason is it's the guys you don't expect. And you did not expect Verdugo, after the way his season ended this year, that he would be the guy yesterday. And then, of course, like you mentioned, Perez today, and then a couple of other guys stepped up. And Rondon looked like he was going to be good. And then right around the 3rd and 4th inning, started giving up some base hits. So the one thing about the Yankees over the past 5 years, they can't hit in the postseason. And unfortunately, that's what we're seeing right now.
So what do you think has to change in terms of the approach? And do you think this team is constructed differently than some of the past Yankee teams we've seen kind of flop in the ALCS?
Well, no, because I really thought this year, I actually enjoyed watching these guys because they have more players who put the ball in play, who hit for average. Judge and Soto, of course, are going to put up their numbers no matter what. But there were other guys that were doing well, and then all of a sudden, probably like I'd say the last month and a half of the season, all of a sudden it was like everyone was trying to hit a home run, and they're not doing the small ball that they did for a while. And I think that's what's hurting.
We are talking to former 11-year MLB catcher Jimmy Leyritz. If you don't remember him, he hit 2 big game-winning home runs in the 90s. He was a part of those great Yankee teams, and everything about him, all the the things, the trials and tribulations he's been through over the years. And he's been a big face for the New York Yankees and some of these young Yankees that you see right now playing in the game. You watch what's going on right now over the last couple of years. You say the Yankees can't hit, in certain situations. Obviously, men in scoring position, the Yankees have had problems all season long in that situation. What do you think the Yankees need to do to change their, this situation?
Well, obviously, you got to work on some small ball. You got to work on moving runners over. I know the sabermetric people say giving up an out is not worth it, but I'm sorry, guys. You go back to our championship teams. It was not Chuck Knobloch gets on base, Derek Jeter gets him over, Paul O'Neill hits a ground ball and knocks him in. We had that for 65 games a year. I mean, it's the way that we won championships. And, it's great. The Yankees win 90 games. They win 100 games during the season because against the 3, 4, and 5 starters, they can hit home runs. But when they play the number 1 and number 2 guys, the small ball is just not there, and they're not used to playing that way. I think they need to do that a little bit more during the season. So when they get to the postseason, it's not such a strange animal for them to be able to play that way.
So the Yankees bullpen has been for 3 years in a row. Great first half, not as good in the second half. And how much do you put of that on Aaron Boone? Because a lot of Yankee fans have criticized that kind of thing. And do you think the creativity at this bullpen has to be a little better?
To be honest with you, I think everything's done from upstairs. I think everything from the sabermetric people is thought out beforehand, and every move. It's not about watching the game. It's not about what Aaron Boone actually thinks. I think he's being told, basically, when this guy comes in, the sabermetrics say this guy's got to come in and follow him. And unfortunately, it just doesn't work out when you're playing some top-notch teams and you're going up against the number 1 and number 2 starters for the other team.
It's crazy. We're talking about Aaron Judge and why he's not hitting, and he's not hitting, in the playoffs over the last couple of years. Maybe they need to move him at that one spot. I mean, during the season, he was very confident there. He was hitting home runs over there. He was getting up the bat a little bit more. How about maybe Aaron Boone, maybe not Aaron Boone, upstairs decides, hey, let's move Aaron Judge to that one spot and Soto in that second spot. And then, you can start to, either put Giancarlo at the third spot or keep him in the fourth spot, or put Torres or Chisholm over there in the third spot and kind of mix around this lineup to give them a little bit more offense. What do you think about that?
To be honest with you, I think our shortstop should be leading off.
Mm-hmm.
The guy can steal bases. He can get on base. The first half of the season, he shortened his swing. He was hitting the ball the other way. And something happened midway through, said, I need to hit more home runs. And all of a sudden, everything plummeted. So I think I would rather see him in the first spot, Soto in the second, and Judge in the third. And I think we would have a much better lineup that way.
Well, Volpe, he could steal bases. He actually, last year, I think he had 50 stolen bases of something like that. This year, he didn't really do much of that like he did last year. I think he needs to play his game. I agree with you. Maybe Volpe in the one spot, Judge. But if you want to see Judge get up there a little bit more, I put him in the one spot, get him the confidence, build his confidence, and then move him back to the third. Because that's what you want to do. You want to get him up to bat as much as you can.
It works for the Phillies when they use Kyle Schwarber. It works for the Phillies. So, that would be something that might work by putting him in that one slot.
So one thing we've seen the last 3 years since they've changed the playoff format is a lot of these underdog teams coming through. You played for one of them in the Padres that have done very well in the playoffs 2 years ago, and then this year as well. So do you think this new format definitely will change the way that baseball teams try to build?
I think so. I do think that you're going to see over the next few years getting away from all the sabermetrics and trying to get back to the feel of the game again. Terry Francona just came back as a Reds manager because it's not working over there. Dusty Baker came back. He turned Houston around. Bruce Bochy did it with Texas last year. Some of those old school guys that say, listen, the sabermetrics is a good tool, but you have to see and feel the game on some of these moves also. And I think you'll start seeing that come back. But when you're in a mode that every team sabermetrically says you're better off striking out than hitting a line drive to short or second, there's something wrong with that. And honestly, I cannot sit and watch a major league game where both teams are combining for 15 to 20 strikeouts per game. It's just hard to watch.
As everybody knows, we are talking to former 11-year MLB catcher Jimmy Leyritz. Jimmy, you're looking right now at the National League. You have the Dodgers up in their series. I mean, the Padres are one of the hottest teams. The Mets are tied 1-1 with the Philadelphia Phillies. And I don't know if you know this statistic. Philadelphia, when they lose the first game of any series in the playoffs, they've never won. And now it's 1-1. So this could be the first time. If the Philadelphia Phillies find a way to win the series against the Mets, this will be the first time they've ever done that. And then you look at the Kansas City Royals. I didn't want to play the Kansas City Royals. I would have rather played Baltimore. I would have rather played Cleveland or any of those teams. The Royals, they're the team. They're the surprise team. There's always one of them. And they're dangerous because they play defense, they steal bases, they play great small ball. And usually when the Yankees play those teams that play small ball, they always have problems with them. The Yankees in the 90s, you know this, the Yankees in the 90s love to play small ball. That's what made Joe Torre such a great manager because, they had power in their lineup, but they played small ball. Why have the Yankees changed? Why haven't they kind of mixed that up? Over the last couple of years when they realized that power doesn't always win championships.
Because they've gone full sabermetrics. And sabermetrics says giving up an out is not beneficial. And like I said before, just go back and look at the history. When you got a whole minor league organization that doesn't use batting tees anymore, what is going on? Ted Williams, Tony Gwynn, two of the greatest hitters to ever play the game, said that the batting tee was their best tool, their best teacher, their best practice. And the fact that the Yankee organization doesn't even have them in the minor leagues, I just never heard of stuff like that.
Wow. So we were talking about the other playoff series, two of which were by ex-Yankee coaches, Mets and Phillies, Carlos Mendoza and Rob Thompson. What do you think of the job both of them have done? And had you had any experience with them in the Yankees organization with those two guys?
Well, I'm very happy for Rob Thompson because he had been a lifelong Yankee minor league coordinator, coach, things like that. He was there when I was playing. And I was so happy. I don't know if you guys know the story, but he was told when he interviewed for some managing jobs that he would never be a manager. He would only be the co-pilot. And the fact that he took over those Phillies after Girardi left and did what he did and now has done what he's done, I am so happy for him. I'm so happy that he beat the odds or beat whatever they were saying. And very happy. Mendoza, I don't know him very well. I was kind of surprised when he was first hired by the Mets as a Yankee bench coach that didn't have a whole lot of experience. But what he's been able to do, he's been able to find a team that plays till the last out. And the Mets got hot at the right time. And when you get to the postseason, usually that team that's playing hot is the one you got to be worried about. It may not be the best team on paper, but they got the best momentum going in, and that has been the Mets. So I think this is going to be an interesting series now that they're going to go to Philadelphia. I'm sorry, Citi Field.
Citi Field. I know you're a Yankee guy. I mean, we've been arguing.
I'm a New York guy.
I know, but we've had many ex-MLB players on this show recently, and we've asked this question, and this is a question that I want to know your opinion. You look at what Aaron Judge has done this year. He hit over 330, 323. He had 58 home runs, 148 RBIs. He had OPS over 1,100. I mean, the guy was unbelievable. And you look at Ohtani, 55 home runs and 50-something stolen bases. He's the first player to ever do that. Who do you think had the better season? Was it Shohei Ohtani or Aaron Judge, and why?
You know, this goes back to the argument back in when I was playing. Is Edgar Martinez the best hitter, or is it the guy that plays every day that's a great hitter too? You know, those arguments those are always gonna be there. What Ohtani has done, it's mind-boggling. And if I was the Los Angeles Dodgers, that kid would never step on a mound.
I agree with you.
There's no way I would ever let him step on a mound. But with that being said, the season that Aaron Judge has put, after putting all of his cards on the table the year before and having the year that he had then, to follow it up by saying, hey, listen, play me in center field. I'll take center field. I'll play the toughest position. And I'm also the tallest guy on the team. But I'm going to do that for this team. And to do what he's done, I'm sorry, to me, that's probably one of the greatest seasons that I've seen, even better than the 62 home run season.
So a lot of our Yankee guests have mentioned that Jorge Posada was kind of a crazy guy himself. Obviously, you played with him a little bit. What was he like as a catcher as well? You kind of mentoring him at the time?
No, actually, Girardi was the one that mentored him.
Okay.
And I think it was good for him because Jorge did a lot like me. He caught a lot by feel. He liked to take charge, sometimes a little bit too much. And I think Girardi kind of taught him to, hey, you know what? Be forceful, but also be open to listening to what your pitcher has to say too. And I think that was something that Joe taught him very well. And once Jorge got that, you know, he took off. One of the things you guys don't know is that Jorge Posada has Jim Leyritz to thank for his career as a New York Yankee. Because in 1997, Pudge Rodriguez was a free agent, and he was not going to sign with the Texas Rangers on July 29th. On July 30th, the Texas Rangers said, okay, we're going to trade Pudge. We're going to trade for Jim Leyritz from the Angels to the Texas Rangers, and we're going to trade Pudge after that to the New York Yankees for Jorge Posada and Marty Jansen. And the day that I got traded from the Angels to the Texas, Pudge knew that I was coming there to replace him. He went in the next day and signed a 5-year, $45 million deal. And the second part of that trade, with Posada leaving the Yankees, never happened. So I told Jorge, you better thank me, because if they didn't use me as a pawn, he would have been a Texas Ranger.
Did he send you any gifts?
We did a lot of stuff together because his son and my son had the same cranial disease. And so we bonded over that too.
Well, we really appreciate the time. I know you're very, very busy. Who are you there with? Who are you there at the stadium with?
So tonight I was with Doc Gooden, Roy White. I actually had the thrill of my life when Carl Anthony Towns showed up in one of the suites, because I'm a former Wildcat. He's a Wildcat. But the crazy thing is, today his dad said, pick one of these hats, because they're big Yankee fans. His dad had like 10 hats. He picked the 1996 World Series hat. And he comes walking into the suite that I'm in. And I introduced myself. And he's like, I can't believe it. And he goes, can you please sign this hat for me? So I signed Carl Anthony Towns' hat. And he told me, this is my first autograph of being a New York Knick. And he goes, I'm going to cherish this. So that was pretty cool.
We love the cat, and we're so excited him going to the Knicks. The Knicks are going to be one of the favorites there. Right now in Vegas, they're top 3. They're 3rd right now in Vegas, chances of winning the NBA championship, which who would have thought that the New York Knicks, and thank you to Leon Rose for building this team from the bottom to the top. And by the way, for all the Knicks fans that argued over the last couple of years on James Dolan, he doesn't know what he's doing. He's a terrible owner. And then he brings in Leon Rose, and everybody was complaining about what he was bringing in, and Leon Rose has completely changed that organization. the contracts, the players that he's brought in, and now he makes a trade for Karl Anthony Towns that could change this organization and win them their first championship in almost 40-something years. It's an amazing story. But Jimmy, we love you. Jimmy, stay in touch. We'd love to get you on the show. Maybe when you come, we could get you in the studio. We should get you in the studio and talk a lot of baseball.
I'm in New York till October 23rd. Unless the Yankees are still winning, then I'll stay. So.
All right. So let's figure something out. We'll definitely get you in.
Sounds good, guys.
All right. Jimmy Leyritz, ladies and gentlemen. Go Yankees. Go Yankees, baby. We better. The Yankees better win. I'm tired of watching this Yankee team just completely bust. Speedy, you like the bust, right?
I do not, but
you don't like the bust?
No, but I'm sure
sexual crap.
No, I'm sure all the Browns and Jets quarterbacks like to bust, though.
Well, like bust a load. You like to bust a load? Load busting?
I guess sometimes I have to, but play one note hard. that could cost me the bust, I suppose.
Yeah.
And before you get any ideas, no, it is not involving a skin flute. I never heard of a skin flute.
The Giants upset Seattle 29-20 in their first game without Malik Neighbors. WFAN's Chris Mack said that Daniel Jones has played well enough this season where he can see himself being the future with Brian Dable together. WFAN's Greg Giannotti said not to overreact because the Giants are still the worst team in the NFC East by a big margin. Wan'Dale Robinson was streaming the locker room reaction on his Instagram Live, and Brian Dable immediately shut it down, saying, "Stop posting that." Brian Byrnes said it is always nice to silence the doubters after his crucial sack on a 4th-and-1 play in the fourth quarter. NFL analyst Greg Rosenthal tweeted that Daniel Jones has been the 5th best quarterback in total EPA. I don't know why you're doing this, Petey, again with this stupid EPA. And this year's Giants offensive line has performed the best in pass blocking since Eli Manning's prime. All right. And stop with this EPA. I don't want to see this anymore. EPAs mean absolutely nothing to me. Stop with this stupid EPA crap, okay? These statistics mean absolutely nothing moving forward. So if I ever see anything with these PFF, I also said, I don't care what these guys say. Stop giving me what they say and what they're posting, and it's giving me your analyzing what they're saying, okay? It's stupid, all right? Now, I've been saying this all season long that Giant fans need to stop putting so much pressure on this young kid. Daniel Jones, I know everybody says he's not a young kid, but he's still 28 years old. He hasn't been healthy really for a full season in a very, very long time. Okay? And if Daniel Jones is healthy and they can protect him, the Giants do have a franchise quarterback. And I've said this over and over and over again. I know Giant fans don't want to hear this, and I know that Joe Shane probably doesn't believe it either, because Joe Shane was willing to trade up to try to bring in Jaden Daniels or maybe Caleb Williams or whoever he was thinking about bringing in. But it didn't make Daniel Jones happy on Hard Knocks. It didn't make Daniel Jones happy that the Giants gave up on him when they decided to give away his best option, his number one option in Saquon Barkley, the way they did. And then they bring in Malik Neighbors, and Malik Neighbors is a star. He's a sensational player. He's a great offensive weapon, but that's all they have. Now, Darius Slayton had a good day. He played well yesterday. So I got to give Darius Slayton. He has these games where he shows up where he could be a natural number 2 for this team, but he doesn't do it consistently. So I don't think he's a number 2. I would say he's probably a number 3, number 4 for the New York Giants, but he had a good day. The guy that stood out in this game, the Giants defense showed up at the end of the game. There's no question that he did, but and their special teams played very well too. That kick block, which won them the game. I practically pulled the game away, but nevertheless, their special teams showed up as well. They're every single position, defense, offense, and special teams played well on Sunday. But the guy that showed up, the guy that was making the plays, the guy in the open field, the guy that used his legs, the guy that stood in the pocket and took a beating like he always does is Daniel Jones. And I do believe he's the franchise quarterback for this organization. Giant fans didn't believe Eli Manning was going to be a franchise quarterback until 2007 when they made that run. And a lot of people were giving up on Tom Coughlin. And now I think the Giants are in the same predicament they were when in 2007, when a lot of people didn't think that Tom Coughlin was the guy and Eli Manning was the guy. Now you're seeing Brian Daboll, even though I questioned some of his calls and his play calling, Brian Daboll is a good offensive coordinator. He's a quarterback whisperer. He knows how to coach quarterbacks. We've seen him do this over the years with Josh Allen, and everywhere he's gone, Alabama, wherever he was as an offensive coordinator or an offensive coach on the sidelines, Daboll was and always has been a good offensive mind. The thing is I don't think Daboll believed that Daniel Jones was a franchise quarterback. I don't think Joe Schoen believed that Daniel Jones was a franchise quarterback. They obviously went to John Mara, and John Mara wanted this kid signed last year. They gave him the contract, and they couldn't give it to Saquon Barkley. And you see, Saquon Barkley is having a good year, but Daniel Jones is a bigger option. You need a franchise quarterback to win a championship. I just, everything about this kid, you got to give him a little bit more credit that he deserves a little bit more credit for what he has done over the last couple of years. Wan'Dale Robinson is not a number 2. He's probably a number 3 on another team. Darius Slayton's probably a number 3 on another team. Every single option that they have, wide receivers or tight ends, even their running back, on any other team, he's a number 2. He's not a number 1. Singletary is not a number 1 guy. So just think about it this way. You have a quarterback that this year, besides Malik Neighbors, they don't have a number 2 player on the field for any other team. Singletary is not Singletary might be an optional number 2, but he's a running back. They have no wide receiver that will be a number 2 on any other team, and they have no tight end that would be a number 1 guy on that roster. So, and Waller is no longer there, so I don't want to hear about Waller or any of that stuff. Right now, if you see the position that the Giants have put themselves in going into the season, they were at best a 5-win team. Right now, they've won 2 games. What's their record? 2-3? Mm-hmm. They have a chance to win 8 to 9 games, and they could sneak into the playoffs. And I wouldn't even be surprised if they could beat out, teams like the Philadelphia Eagles that probably have no trust in their coach, and that franchise is falling apart right in front of our eyes. Washington looks like a good team. The Cowboys have talent. So I wouldn't be surprised if the Giants are fighting one of those 2 teams for that second spot. So I love everything that I've seen with Daniel Jones. Shame on any Giant fan that thought that Daniel Jones couldn't be the optional franchise quarterback for the future.
Yeah, and this game definitely shows a lot of what Daniel Jones can do. And this was a Seahawks defense that, besides last week, was playing very well. Now, I know it's a new coach, it's a new scheme altogether, but they have a good amount of talent. They've drafted well the last few years on defense, even rebuilding that Legion of Boom. And the Giants were able to put something together, and Daniel Jones was able to put something together with these 4th-string wide receivers pretty much. And Darius Slayton, Fish, we joked about it yesterday. This is one of his 3 good games a year that he's going to have. But Daniel Jones knew he was the hot hand. And you're playing with backup running backs. You have no Singletary in that game. Tyrone Tracy goes off, and they make that kind of thing work. And Daniel Jones knows that kind of thing. And I think that was very good on his part. The defense did very well shutting down Kenneth Walker and DK Metcalf in that game too, which is a good sign for the defense to try to be able to evolve even more. They played well last week as well against the Cowboys, but they're now taking much more consistent steps doing it against higher end skill players.
I think that if you're a Giant fan, you should be very excited because this team nobody thought was going to be 2-3 in 5 weeks. And that has a lot to do with Daniel Jones. So take away, and I know you're one of those people, Fish, that don't believe in Daniel Jones. And I'm sure half of the Giant fans out there don't believe in Daniel Jones. But guess what? You do have a franchise quarterback. And by the way, your franchise quarterback has played better than Aaron Rodgers and probably, I would say, 80% of the quarterbacks in this league. He has been sensational. He's been accurate, and he uses his legs at the proper time. He doesn't have that power arm that Eli Manning has. He doesn't throw the ball 60 yards down the field. He doesn't have to. He just has to be accurate. He uses his legs in the proper situations. I just think that I'm tired of hearing you Giant fans give up on this kid. Give him some weapons. Give him some real, legitimate weapons, not just Malik Neighbors. Go out there and get T. Higgins next year. Go get him another weapon. I guarantee you get T. Higgins and you have Malik Neighbors on the other side, you're going to see Daniel Jones put up 4,000 yards or close to 4,000 yards. Give yourself about 800 to 900 yards running with your legs and put up, I wouldn't say 35 touchdowns, but a good year for Daniel Jones with those kind of weapons, 26, 27 touchdowns thrown and 5 to 6 touchdowns run in. If he does that, that's what you need your quarterback to do. You can win with that type of quarterback.
That being said, I still think he was like the 5th most important guy to the win yet in that game.
You're crazy.
I'll go down the list. Number 1 is Brian Daboll. Brian Daboll called the game probably of his coaching career so far as a head coach. This was an incredible job by him. Maybe the Vikings game in the playoffs, but that Vikings team was very overrated, as we've talked about a number of times. What he did without the number 1 running back and number 1 receiver in this game, in all 3 phases, especially special teams, as we found out later in the game, was really dominated. This game shouldn't have been this close, all because of Eric Gray fumbling going in on the opening drive, which was perfectly scripted. This game should have been out of hand at the end of the first half, but it wasn't. It was actually tied. But the Giants dominated the whole way and continued to until the very end, when always kind of play that Giant football where they got to give them one last chance. And then we have this great special teams play by Isaiah Simmons, who's just a freak athlete, and somehow come from a 3-point stance or a 4-point stance and leapfrog a guy legally, because you could do it. Apparently the rule is you can't get a running start. So you have to be in a stance if you're going to jump over the guy, and you can't touch him or else it's a leverage penalty, which happened earlier in the day this week. So he gets it and he blocks it perfectly, and you have the 2 gunners actually in the exact right spot because it was coached up perfectly. Something you don't see a lot of on the Jets, where they have these little minutia details perfectly done. And I think that's all Daboll. Second guy I talk about is Shane Bowen, because Shane Bowen is a lot better of a defensive coordinator than anyone knew. This guy is really good, and he is able to scheme up different types of pressures for different game plans. He's blitz heavy some weeks. He's not other weeks. He has some spies for running quarterbacks that kind of catch him off guard. He is very versatile, and they don't know what to make of him. It's been a couple of teams that couldn't handle it. And think about this. Now, looking back at the Vikings game and the Redskins, I always want to call them the Redskins, the Commanders game, which they should have won if they had a kicker. This team's pretty good if you think about the competition that they were really close with. So I really got to hand it to the coaching first. And then the third thing is the offensive line before Daniel Jones, because you're right. He didn't have the weapons. So what's the excuse if a guy who when he has weapons every once in a while can't do it? Well, they protected his ass off. They're getting really good. And that's on the O-line coach, Carmen Brasillo, they brought over, and those 5 guys led by Andrew Thomas.
And you gave your top 5, and I'm going to eat it up
3.
Right. Whatever. I'm going to eat it up right now. When they lose, you're going to blame the quarterback. When they win, you're not going to give the quarterback any of that credit. Okay. Give me a break. Okay. Right now, statistics would tell you he's a top 10 quarterback right now in the league. He is ranked in the top 10 in almost every single statistic this year. So for anybody to think that he is not a franchise quarterback, take it back. Take it back. He is a franchise quarterback. He's not an elite quarterback. How many teams have an elite quarterback? How many teams? Right now, do you think Patrick Mahomes is putting up elite numbers? Guys, guess what? Patrick Mahomes right now in the league is not even a top 10 quarterback. He's not even a top 10 quarterback. Right now, Geno Smith is number 1. Dak Prescott is number 2. 2 guys that nobody likes, by the way. C.J. Stroud, Brock Purdy, Kirk Cousins, Joe Burrow, Matthew Stafford, Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield, Daniel Jones. Then Jaden Daniels, who everybody loves, Daniel Jones is having a better season than Jaden Daniels, a rookie. Sam Darnold, who everybody thinks is going to be up for an MVP, 5-0. Trevor Lawrence, Aaron Rodgers, Caleb Williams, Jared Goff, Gardner Minshew, Kyle Murray, Justin Fields, Josh Allen. Do you know where Patrick Mahomes is like 20th, like 19th.
Mahomes just threw another interception going into the end zone again.
Mahomes is not having a good year. And by the way, all the people on social media attacking my takes on Patrick Mahomes, shame on you to think that the great Patrick Mahomes, even with the talent that he has around him, that you're going to still see this guy put up the numbers that he puts up every single year. Patrick Mahomes is one of the most overrated quarterbacks in NFL history. I will tell you again, and you can take that to the bank. He's no Tom Brady. I'm going to tell you that right now. He is not Tom Brady. Tom Brady on this roster, he's putting up 30, 35 points. He's putting up 30, 35 points. I'm not even a Tom Brady fan. And I can tell you right now, you put Tom Brady on this roster, he's putting up much more points than Patrick Mahomes is. The fact that they're up 16-7, I haven't been watching the game, but I'm sure the referees have something to do with it. I'm sure of it. And I hope Derek Carr finds a way to put the ball in the end zone and gets this game even closer. I don't want to see Kansas City win another close game like this. It makes me sick to my stomach.
Yeah, so I really don't know if Daniel Jones is going to be, a top half of the league quarterback, but say he is. I think the thing you brought up, Patrick Mahomes, but who did he understudy for that 1 year before he started? It was Alex Smith. Alex Smith is who the Giants need Daniel Jones to be. When he was in his prime, he was still fast. People forget how fast Alex Smith was coming out of college. He was a really, really fast quarterback. Played for, I believe, Urban Meyer in his first stop in Utah.
I think.
And that was,
yeah.
Yep. It was Urban Meyer's Utah, and that's how Urban got famous and so on and so on. But look, he didn't have that type of career, but that's what the Giants need him to be, is a game manager who has wheels, who's a mobile quarterback, who can hit targets. He doesn't have to do value plays, but he has to control the game. And he's been doing that now that he has protection. And that's the key. I mean, I think that they protect this guy, and he can get comfortable in the pocket and going through his reads, because he hasn't been comfortable in years. It's like he's shell-shocked. If it was another 2 more games of him getting hit, he would have never been redeemable, I think. He was like teetering on the edge of never being able to play quarterback again, like David Carr, like David Carr was. So like it just lost it. Guys, his number one picks that just had all this talent in the world. They get hit too many times the first few years in the league. They hear footsteps. They get rid of it too early. Their timing is all off. You saw, earlier in the season, not as recent as last week, Daniel Jones, his deep ball, he's too short on it. He's too long. He doesn't trust his footwork on the longer developing plays, because since when has he ever had time to throw it? And now he has that time, and that's on Dable again, working with him, Shea Tierney, quarterback coach, just getting him, and obviously Daniel Jones too, putting the work in, which no one's ever said he doesn't.
Seattle doesn't have a very good defense, so we'll see if they can continuously keep playing this way, the offensive line. I just think I don't think you're giving Daniel Jones enough credit. I mean, Daniel Jones was running all over the place. He was going there. He was trying to get those first downs. They had no running game. Daniel Jones was their running game. And I think he deserves a lot more credit than you're giving him. I know you want to give and you don't like Daniel Jones. I know you can't stand Daniel Jones. There's a lot of Giant fans like you that can't stand this guy. But guess what? I do believe he should be there for the long haul. And if he makes a run this year, if the Giants could sneak into the playoffs and make another run, remember, he got this team 2 years ago into the playoffs, and people forget he was a big reason why that team made the playoffs. That's why he got that $40 million contract a year. That contract. He got that contract because of the season that he had. He also had Saquon Barkley. He doesn't have that talent around him anymore. Malik Neighbors looks like he could be a good talent for the future, especially if he stays healthy. Those LSU guys don't stay healthy, as we know Odell Beckham over the years. So if Malik Neighbors stays healthy and they give him another weapon, I think you keep Daniel Jones next year and you go get T. Higgins. You go get another weapon on the other side. You do that. Then there's no excuses. Then you go out there and you win. You have another offensive weapon as good as Malik Neighbors, and then you go out there and you try to win a Super Bowl. That's what I would do. And I think Daniel Jones is underpaid. If right now you look at what Daniel Jones is right now doing in the NFL, he's a top 10 quarterback. He's underpaid. If you look at those quarterbacks, practically every single one of those quarterbacks are making over $50 million. Do you know what he's making? He's making 40. And that's an underpaid quarterback. So I think the Giant fans need to put the brakes up, okay? Put them up and let this kid start to play. Trust that this kid is going to figure it out. I think he will. I've always liked Daniel Jones, always liked him when they drafted him. Gettleman had it right with him. I think you just need to give him a chance to develop. All right, Scoops.
One thing before you get to Tommy. Sorry, Scoops. I got to say this. Devin Singletary is now the number 2 running back. I don't care. Tyrone Tracy Jr. is awesome. That guy can play. He can play out can catch it out of the backfield is better than Singletary, and he can run with a forward tilt that you need at that position. He was incredible in this game. I don't think they're smart. They're gonna keep him heavily involved in the run game.
Well, Singletary, when he has played, I think there's 5 games. 2 of the games he had over 100 yards. I think Singletary still has the one option, but you're going to see Tracy play more and more. I think you've seen it. Look, just like Allen from Breece Hall. Breece Hall is a great running back, but Allen is a great pounding, ground and pound guy. So I think as he starts to remember, Tracy is a young kid. He was drafted this past year. You got to give him a chance to get on the field and develop. I think Tracy's the future as far as the running game is concerned. Singletary might not be. What did he sign? A 1-year deal? I think it's a 1-year deal. I don't know what he signed, a 1 or 2 year deal. But nevertheless, if the Giants believe Tracy is the future, he will be the number 1 guy next year. But right now, I think it's Singletary's job. But who knows? If Singletary doesn't play next week and Tracy puts up those numbers again, who they play next week? Who the Giants play?
The Bengals.
They play the Bengals? Well, that's a must win for the Bengals. So that sucks for the Giants that they have to go and play the Bengals.
It's my buddy Joey Bag of Donuts gave Devin Singletary a 3-year deal.
Bag of donuts over there.
We'll see. I think
they get out of it in 2, though. I
think if you're a Giant fan, you should be excited what you've seen so far. And I think Daniel Jones is doing what you want Daniel Jones to do. And again, Daniel Jones is underpaid. That's all I'm going to say. I don't want to hear what Greg Giannotti has to say. It's saying that Daniel Jones is horrible and the Giants are one of the worst teams right now in the NFC. I don't want to hear what Greg Giannotti has to say. By the way, Greg Giannotti is a born Minnesota Vikings fan. How many championships does the Vikings have? So I don't want to hear about the Vikings. And by the way, the last time the Vikings went, what did they win? 13 games the year that they were one of the hottest teams in football. Who did they play? Who did they get eliminated against? Oh, I'm sorry. Daniel Jones and the Giants. I remember that too. So, and by the way, who shut down the great Justin Jefferson? I don't know. I guess it was the Giants too. So I don't want to hear it from Greg Giannotti, who's a Minnesota Viking fan.
Get it, Scoops.
I think that the Giants' game plan this year should be that they need to start off every game with giving their fans a heart attack, only for the fact that their first win against Cleveland, they fumbled the kickoff and had a touchdown, and they're already down within the first 5 seconds. So that's one. Then the first possession of this game, they fumbled at the goal line. Not only was that even worse, but it was ran all the way back for a touchdown. So those 2 games, they managed to come out with a win, and that's very unlike the Giants. It's very un-Giant-like. So that's pretty crazy that that's their game plan. But, I think their offense played great. You were just mentioning it with Tracy Fish. I think that Tracy played amazing. He had an amazing game for this being, one of the first games, like him actually stepping up to the role of having to get majority of the snaps on the rushing side of the ball. I think he played a phenomenal game. And on top of that, I was really impressed with their defense. I mean, Dexter Lawrence is amazing. He was just pressuring Geno Smith all day, every single snap. And they got, 7 sacks and all in all. And, even mentioned, you mentioned earlier before the special teams, because the special teams is the main reason of why they even won the game in the first place. Actually managed to block the kick and run it back all the way for a touchdown. But hey, I got to say, you were mentioning it, Errol. I am excited. Yes, I am excited as a Giants fan because we're sitting here talking about the Giants possibly being even 500 going into week 6. That's been the best start that the Giants have had since 2020 season. And even before that, I can't even name off the top of my head. So look, there's definitely a lot that the team has to clean up. And even Daniel Jones too. I mean, he needs to consistently throw accurate passes. He needs to consistently
That's
play.
every quarterback in the NFL.
Right. No, definitely. But
Patrick Mahomes has 2 interceptions. Okay, come on. Give me a break. Patrick Mahomes, Daniel Jones is having a better season than Patrick friggin' Holmes, okay? I don't want to hear it from you Giant fans. Stop. Oh, he's got to be more accurate. He's got to be this. He's got to be that. He doesn't have to do anything. If the defense shows up every single week and they can run the friggin' ball down everybody's throats and give him a time to throw the ball, that's all that matters. Daniel Jones could win football games with his legs. He can win football games with his arm as well. He doesn't have to throw 60 yards like Eli Manning. And by the way, Eli Manning doesn't have the ability that Daniel Jones has on a football field. He can use his legs. He can dominate outside of the pocket. And he gives that offensive line a little bit more time that they can get somebody open or get a wide receiver open. So, the offensive line gives Daniel Jones a little bit more time as they move forward against these better defenses. Remember, the Bengals have had problems defensively all season long. They've had problems I think the weakness right now in the Bengals is their defense. It's not their offense. T. Higgins put up a great game this past week. Jamar Chase had a good week this week. Joe Burrow put up good numbers this week. It wasn't their offense. It was their defense. So if the Giants, if the Bengals defense is as bad as what we've seen over the last couple of weeks, why couldn't the Giants beat the Bengals? They should beat the Bengals the way they ran the ball with Tracy. They should beat the Bengals the way Daniel Jones can step into the pocket and make the throws. So they should win this week. If they don't win this week the way they beat Seattle, then it's a big loss. I think the Giants should beat the Bengals this week. They should. They're the better team right now. I think the Giants, as far as talent is concerned, the Giants don't have anywhere close to the talent the Jets have. Not a chance in hell. If you line the Giants' talent with the Jets' talent, it's not even close. Young and veterans, not even close. But I'm going to tell you this right now. If you would ask me who the better team is, it's the Giants. It's the Giants. They're the better team. They believe in what their structure is. I don't think the Jets do. And Robert Saleh is the deer in the headlights. He's Bambi. He doesn't know what he's doing. And I'm not a big fan of Brian Daboll either, what I've seen over the last year and a half, being the dictator that he is. But he is a good offensive mind. And I think if there's anybody that can fix Daniel Jones, it's him. He just has to believe in him. And I think that's what you guys need to do. Stop giving up on this kid and let this kid figure it out. And I think that if he does figure it out, I think the Giants can sneak into the playoffs. And who knows, with the playoffs, playing one game each round, the Giants can make a run. There's no doubt in my mind the way this defense is playing and the way they're running the ball and the way Daniel Jones could stay healthy. As long as Daniel Jones stays healthy, why this team can't make the playoffs. They can make the playoffs. And I think the NFC East is a lot better. I'm surprised the NFC East is as good as it's been so far early this season. I didn't think that the NFC East was going to be as good as it is. I didn't. Washington is unbelievable right now. What are they, 4-1 now? I mean,
3-1, I think. No, they're 4-1. Oh, no, yeah, they are 4-1. I'm sorry. I completely forgot. They were 3-1 heading into the week.
They're 4-1. The Giants are 2-3. The Eagles are what? 2-3? I think I know
2-2.
2-2, and
Dallas and the Giants are 2-3.
Giants are 3-2, or Cowboys are 3-2.
3-2. Yes.
I'm getting my scores mixed up.
So right now, if you to look at each division in the NFC, this is the best division in the NFC. If you look at the records, this is the best division in the NFC. I don't know. I don't even have it up right now, but I would argue right now that the NFC East is the best division right now in the NFC. Even the North, though, everybody thought with the Green Bay Packers, but the Green Bay Packers were dealing with injuries, and then obviously the Vikings having a great season that they are. It is incredible. It is incredible how good the NFC East is. It really is. I'm shocked. I'm shocked right now. If you look at it right now, but the NFC North is pretty good. I can't lie. The Bears are 3-2. The Packers are 3-2. The Lions are 3-1 and 5-0. So that's the best. That's what we thought the best division is. But it's crazy. Right now, the Commanders are 4-1. The Cowboys are 3-2. The Eagles are 2-2. And the Giants are 2-3. Almost every single one of these teams are 500. Now, the Giants, if they win this week against the Bengals, every single one of these teams are 500. Every single one of them. So And right now the NFC North is 500. The NFC South, besides the Panthers, they're 1-4, is 500. And I'm just shocked that the NFC is as good as it is this year. I didn't think the NFC was going to be that good. It's the AFC that's just been an absolute bust. It really has been. The Jets are 2-3. The Dolphins are 2-3. We know what the Patriots are. The Bills are 3-2. We thought that the AFC East was going to be good. Ravens are 3-2. I thought the Ravens would be right now 4-1 or 5-0. The Steelers are 3-2. Then they started off 3-0. The Browns are 1-4. The Bengals are 1-4. The Texans are 4-1. The Colts are 2-3. The Titans 1-3. The Jaguars 1-4. And then the Chiefs 4-0, 3-2. The Broncos are 3-2. That's an amazing feat right now. And the Chargers 2-2, and the Raiders 2-3. It's the teams that we didn't expect to have the records that they have the records that they have, and the teams that we thought were going to be better have crappy records. It's even the Jets. I thought the Jets right now, at worst, should be 3-2. At worst, should be 3-2, and they're 2-3 right now. That's not a good sign. And they're after their bye week. I think it does get a little easier after the bye week. I think they have like 3 easy games, but after losing against the Broncos, what is easy for the Jets? I mean, nothing's easy. In football, any given Sunday, anybody can win. I'm trying to give the Giants a little bit more credit. I can't stand the Giants organization. I don't like the Giants organization. I just got to give them credit. They've been unbelievable so far. In the last 2 weeks, I got to give Dable a little bit of more credit than he deserves. So
Jazz Chisholm with the home run over there.
Jazz.
yeah. What inning is it?
4-2, bottom 9.
I don't
Relax.
think
Have a like rally in them.
All right. The Mets and the Phillies are tied 1-1. After the Mets won game 1, 6-2, the Phillies won game number 2, 7-6. WFAN Sal Licata criticized Edwin Diaz for not attacking Bryce Harper in the 7th inning, leading to the Phillies scoring 3 runs. WFAN's Boomer Esiason says it's crazy for Carlos Mendoza to trust Edwin Diaz as his best relief pitcher when he's not. Jeff McNeil returned to the Mets clubhouse for game number 2, and there is belief he can return from the injury if the Mets advance the NLCS. Kodai Senga returned from the injury, started game number 1, pitching 2 innings and throwing 31 pitches. Carlos Mendoza said that Senga is likely to pitch game number 5 if the series goes that long. I'm going to tell you guys pretty simple. The fact that the Mets are here is incredible. It is incredible that the New York Mets are in position. I don't know what that sound is, but it is absolutely incredible what the Mets are doing right now. They were the hottest team in baseball. Them and the Padres were the hottest teams in baseball when they got here. And the fact that they won game number 1, I've told you guys this statistic off air. The Philadelphia Phillies have never won a series losing game number 1 in the playoffs. Never won a series after losing game number 1 in any kind of series. Wild card, the divisional, the NLCS, and even the World Series. They've never won a championship when going down 1 in game number 1. So the Mets right now have the advantage. Because mentally, when you look at statistics, everybody stares at them and says, well, this would be the first time that Philadelphia Phillies have done this in over, 70, 80 years? It's not likely if you look at stats. The thing is, Sal Licata criticizing Edwin Diaz and Boomer Esiason throwing Carlos Mendoza under the bus because of Edwin Diaz. Edwin Diaz is their best relief pitcher. I don't know what the hell Boomer Esiason is talking about. That just tells you stay in football. Concentrate on football. I know you are a pretty good high school baseball player, and you thought you could have played in the major leagues. You're not a professional baseball player, just like you don't know hockey, Boomer. You think you know hockey because you're a Ranger fan, and when the playoffs start, you stick jerseys in your freezing back, whatever, your freezer, because you think it's going to stop the jinx. I don't want to hear it, okay? The fact is, it's incredible where the Mets are. It doesn't matter what happens now. If the Mets win the series or loses this series, they're ahead of schedule. They're ahead. Now, I'm going to tell you this right now. There's a lot of pressure on the Mets. If the Mets win this series and they lose in the NLCS, or the Mets go all the way to the World Series and loses the World Series, or the Mets win the World Series and then goes into the offseason and spends a ton of money and they don't even get into the playoffs, it's a catastrophic loss. I mean, you're spending all that money. And this is something, getting back to Steve Cohen, Uncle Stevie. Steve Cohen, and I remember, first year with Buck Showalter and a new GM, they get into the playoffs. They get into the playoffs. In the offseason, they spent over $500 or $600 million. They don't make the playoffs again. And this has been the problem with Steve Cohen. Steve Cohen will open up his pockets. He spent the money on Max Scherzer. He spent the money on Justin Verlander. It didn't work out. It didn't work out. You didn't bring back Jacob deGrom. I guess that worked out for you because Jacob deGrom hasn't pitched really at all with the Texas Rangers in 2 years. I think he pitched 1 game or 2 games.
Yeah, a few games here and there each season.
He has done nothing since they gave him the contract and they decided to part ways with him. Nevertheless, every time Uncle Stevie has opened up his pockets, it hasn't worked. So this is a big run for the New York Mets, but it puts the Mets in the offseason on the clock. Because if they're going to go out there and spend a ton of money, if they bring in Byrnes and they bring in Fried and they bring in, I don't know, Soto or whoever they decide to bring in, the 3 or 4 or 5 guys, and re-sign Pete Alonso, and he could spend $1 billion this offseason, they're on the clock. They got to win next year. If they fail to win this year and they lose in the NLCS or in the divisional game, they're expected to make the playoffs next year, and they're expected to either come out of the National League or go to the NLCS. It's a lot. They're in Pressureville now because the Mets have gone as far as they've gone so far this year. I think it's incredible what the Mets are doing. I do. And Sal Licata I know Sal's a Met fan, so he's going to say whatever he wants. And so is Boomer Esiason. So is Greg Giannotti. And who cares if Jeff McNeil plays in this series or the next series? Jeff McNeil is not the answer, okay? He's not. And he's not Juan Soto. He's not Aaron Judge. Who the hell is Jeff McNeil? What is Jeff McNeil? What did he hit this year? 250? 260? I don't even know it, but he's not hitting 300 anymore. So why is it that everybody gives, Jeff McNeil, if the Mets make the NLCS, he'll be back. Who cares? Who cares if Jeff McNeil comes back? It's like saying, if you were the Phillies, Bryce Harper's been out. And if the Phillies make it to the NLCS, he'll be back. That's Bryce Harper. This is Jeff McNeil. Who the hell is he? So who cares about Jeff McNeil? I just think right now, Met fans should be excited for what they're seeing and happy where the Mets are. They are right now. I'm not even a Met fan, and I'm excited that the Mets are 1-1 right now against the Phillies, just like the Yankees. They're 1-1, and they have a chance to win a series. So I don't know why anybody is complaining or crying about Edwin Diaz. And by the way, Edwin Diaz is by far the Mets' best relief pitcher.
Yeah, Edwin Diaz struggled in the first half. The second half was a lot better. He had some notable blown saves against maybe good teams.
Why is he making $100 million?
Yeah, that's the big thing. Now, I've always had the discrepancy with closer contracts at the time because sometimes closers can be very fluky. As we're talking about with Jim Leyritz, too, there's not going to be a lot of these relievers that sustain this kind of thing for longer. But to say that Edwin Diaz didn't play well in the second half is ridiculous. Now, if he was still struggling like he did in the first half, yeah, that's understandable. But at the same time, Carlos Mendoza would realize that kind of thing and not put him in the highest leverage situation. And to nitpick him pitted in the 7th inning against the Phillies' best hitters is ridiculous as well. You want your best pitcher up against the best hitters. It doesn't matter what inning it necessarily is. The closing formality is going away for a reason. We were talking about Class A earlier, just blowing a 3-0 lead to get the 0-0 lead to the Tigers. Like, that kind of thing doesn't matter for the postseason. Pitch your best pitcher. He's your best pitcher. I think he's ridiculous by saying that kind of thing. And the Mets offense finally waking up as well, too. They struggled in the Brewer series. They were able to hit late, but now they're putting together complete games. I know they struggled against Wheeler, but besides that, they've been very good.
I don't know, Speedy. I'm concerned going to Diaz so early, so often. I heard earlier today that he's pitched more pitches in a short amount of time than he's ever done his entire career. And we're only talking about the beginning of the NLDS. Well, what are they trying to do? Blow his arm out before they even get to the next round? What are you trying to accomplish?
You have
You
to worry
can't.
about this
You
round,
got to
yeah.
worry about
I-
this round. The
But
playoffs.
you got to have more than one guy. You can't just go to him for 3 innings every game like he's Mo. And they didn't do that with Mo until the ALCS. It's too much too soon for a guy that's coming off of an injury only a couple of years ago.
Mendoza has done well, I think, this year, though, getting off of guys just because they're big names. And that's where these other younger players have emerged. Buto pitching very well for them. Reed Garrett, up until he got hurt, was pitching well for them. So I think Mendoza would realize that kind of thing if it was really that bad.
Well, you just saw him get hit a little bit more in game 2. And I just worry that these need to break. They got the day off here. Yeah, I hope he's effective next game, but it's a risk. They're taking a risk. They're putting him on the red line, and it might blow up in their face. But you're right. He is their best guy. I don't think there's a question about it. I don't know why anyone would say otherwise. It's obvious. He's one of the better relief pitchers in the
I'm going
league.
to tell you why, and I'm sorry to cut you off, Fish. I'm going to
No,
tell
yeah.
you why. I'm going to tell you why Sal Licata and Boomer Esiason's opening their big mouths, because they want to stir up conversation, controversy. That's what they're doing. Here in New York, they're Met fans, and every Met fan right now is blaming Edwin Diaz. Every single Met fan's blaming Edwin Diaz because they lost. And the truth is, it wasn't Mendoza, it wasn't Edwin Diaz. Edwin Diaz, by far, is their best relief pitcher. Yes, he is throwing the ball way too much. There's no question. But this is the playoffs. This is what you're paying him for. You're paying for him to go out there and do what he does, and that strike out people and be the guy that you're going to depend on in the 7th inning, the 8th inning, or the 9th inning to win a baseball game. So I'm not blaming Edwin Diaz on that loss. I just think that Met fans should be happy the position that the Mets are in. Win or lose, they should have never been here. And the fact that they're here and they have a chance to beat the Philadelphia Phillies, which a lot of people think is going to win the World Series this year, would tell you that the Mets are ahead of schedule and their pitching staff is not anywhere close to as good as the Philadelphia Phillies. And by the way, the Philadelphia Phillies pitching staff is iffy. Behind Nola and Wheeler, this is a pitching staff that's their lineup is ridiculous. And their bullpen is horrible. So as much as everybody thinks Philadelphia is the best team right now in the playoffs, there's a lot of questions with the Philadelphia Phillies. And if the Mets beat the Philadelphia Phillies, the favorites to come out of the National League and win the World Series, that says a lot about this organization and where this organization is heading.
Jamie Lee in the comment section. Los Mets. They should have won yesterday. Diaz choked. All right, Scoops, what do you got?
The Mets just have to win tomorrow. I mean, especially if they do
Even if they lose, it doesn't matter.
I don't know. Personally, if they lose, I feel like they probably are going to be shooting themselves in the foot. I mean, they had a chance to go up 2-0 and take the game.
They got one game in Philadelphia, and they're heading home right now. If they could take this to a game 5, it could go anywhere. And that game could go anywhere, whoever's on the mound. I think that the fact that the Mets got that win, and even if the Mets lose tomorrow and then win game 4, they're going to win one of those games at home. The Mets have an advantage in Citi Field. The fans are loud over there. You can see that they play different in front of their fans. They do. They just play different in front of their fans. I think they have a tremendous advantage. Even if they lose game 3, I still think that the Mets are going to win game 4 and take it to a game 5. And I just don't trust Philadelphia in a game 5. There's a lot of pressure on Philadelphia. It's all about pressure. How you handle, the pressure when the time's right. And by the way, the Yankees haven't done it over the years. The Yankees haven't taken pressure very well since 2009. It's not easy going into a game 5 or a game 7 and have to win. And obviously the fact that you're supposed to win. So I think that the Mets have a very good chance to win this series still.
No, I don't see it. If they lose tomorrow, I think that it's over for the Mets, honestly. I mean, personally, of course, you were mentioning it too. The Phillies are like the best team in baseball. They might not have they might not be the number 1 seed or the number 1 team in the league, but I think that the Phillies are one of the best teams. And, going up 2-0, missing the advantage to go up 2-0 and go back to Citi Field, I feel like that's a missed opportunity on their part. But hey, I just think that since Philly's been dominant in the playoffs for so long in the past few years, I feel like that if the Mets lose tomorrow, it's all Philly, honestly.
Baseball, if anybody knows anything about baseball, it doesn't matter if you win game 3 or lose game 3 and win game 4. I think that the Mets still have the advantage. Winning that game in Philadelphia gives them the advantage. They're winning one of those games at home. And if any Met fan thought that they were going to win both games at home at Citi Field, they weren't. They just have to get it to game 5. If they get it to game 5, the pressure's on Philadelphia. It's not on the New York Mets. The Mets are not expected to be there. You want to put the Philadelphia Phillies in that pressure spot, and anything can happen in that pressure spot. That's in any professional sport when you're expected to win. The Yankees won game number 1 versus the Royals 6-5 with help from a controversial call from the stolen base in the 7th inning by Jazz Chisholm. Many fans thought the game was rigged for the Yankees after the replay review showed that Chisholm's foot possibly not touching the second base on the slide. Aaron Judge told ESPN that his MVP season doesn't matter if he can't redeem himself in October. The Athletic asked Juan Soto, why would you want to leave the Yankee Stadium when Soto was celebrating with a lot of the bleacher creatures during game number 1? Many Yankee fans were criticizing Giancarlo Stanton's speed, but Aaron Boone says it is something that fans are going to have to live with because we need his bat. The Yankees are now betting favorites to win the World Series at plus 225. The Yankees are going to be the favorite to come out of the American League. I believe with the talent that they have, if they get out of this Kansas City series, I'm going to tell you this right now. They're better than Cleveland, and they're better than Detroit. Detroit shouldn't be there. But again, in a 7-game series, you're probably going to have the advantage against any one of those teams because of your lineup. The 5-game series scares me. And I didn't want to play Kansas City in a 5-game series because Kansas City has the defense. They steal bases. They play little ball. They play small ball. And when you play teams like that in a 5-game series, it can go anywhere. That's why I didn't want to play Kansas City in the first round. I mean, in the divisionals, the wild card's the first round, but in the divisional round, I didn't want to play Kansas City because they play small ball. I do believe that if they beat Kansas City, it's an easy path to the World Series for the Yankees. I think they're going to beat Cleveland. If they play Cleveland in the next round, if the Yankees beat Kansas City, they'll beat them 4-1. I think they're just much better than Cleveland. They're much better than Detroit. So I'm not really worried about that. Now, as far as Aaron Judge in October, Aaron Judge has proven that he is not a good playoff hitter. But if the Yankees know that, why aren't the Yankees move him that first spot? Get him up there more times. Give him confidence. Let him figure things out. Let him start smacking the ball all around the field. Give him that confidence. Once you see that he has the confidence, move him back in that 3-hole. That's what I think. If I were the manager right now, and if I was the Yankees, and I'm looking at analytics or sabermetrics, I am putting Aaron Judge in that 1 spot. As far as Giancarlo Stanton's speed, Giancarlo Stanton never had speed. Why are Yankee fans complaining about him running to first, second, or third? Who cares? I want to see Giancarlo Stanton actually hit and put these guys in scoring position or knock in RBIs. I don't care if he can run. I don't care if he can steal a base. I don't give a crap. As far as the Chisholm thing, if you would ask me, he was out. If you would ask me right now, if you watch the instant replay, he was out. But even if he was out, that doesn't mean the Yankees weren't going to win the game. So how was that rigged? Now, I know Major League Baseball wants the Yankees to go to the ALCS because everybody wants to see the Yankees versus the Dodgers. Who doesn't? I mean, the Dodgers being the Dodgers and the Yankees being the Yankees. Who wouldn't want to see LA versus New York? Everybody wants to see that. Ohtani versus Judge, the 2 best players in baseball face off in a World Series to see who is the champion of all of baseball. Who wouldn't want to see that? Everybody would want to see that. Baseball wants to see that. Do you know how many tickets? Do you know how much tickets will be? Do you know how many the TV sponsorships they're going to get for that series? It's ridiculous. So, yeah, baseball wants to see it. And Juan Soto, too. He's a superstar. As far as Juan Soto is concerned, we're not going to know where Juan Soto is going to go until the end of the season. More than likely, he's going to go where the money is. If the Mets are going to offer him more money by $50 million, he's going to have to decide Yankee Stadium, Citi Field. Hall of Fame career where I'm going to be looked at as one of the greatest hitters of all time and being considered one of the greatest Yankees of all time, are going to Citi Field and being Carlos Beltran, because that's what he's going to be. The Mets aren't going to win back-to-back World Series or win a ton of World Series if if Juan Soto goes there. Juan Soto is being bought to go there to win one World Series. One. So the Mets would be willing to give him a 15-year, 12-year contract worth about $700 million just to win one World Series. If he stays with the Yankees, he's going to have a chance to win World Series every other year or every 5 to 6 years. He can come out winning a World Series twice, 3 times, or even once and break records because of the small porch and the opportunities to put up those numbers that he put up this year, which, by the way, if you look at Juan Soto's numbers, it was the greatest season out of his whole career. So if Juan Soto is there at Yankee Stadium, 162 games for the next 12 years, what do you think his numbers are going to be?
41 home runs is the highest he had. Last year, he broke the record with the Padres for his personal career high. And 41, he didn't double.
He's going to hit like 680 home runs. He's going to have he's going to have over 3,000 RBIs. I mean, the guy is going to break. He's 26 years old.
Right.
Could you imagine 12 years of Juan Soto and being protected with Aaron Judge for at least 3 to 4 more years in the top of his game? I mean, you're going to see Juan Soto put up like 200, 300 home runs in those years.
Right. And what makes it dynamic is both of them are kind of the on-base percentage kings of MLB as well, in addition to Aaron Judge's raw power being the best in baseball and Juan Soto still being very good in terms of the raw power as well. So I think both of them right now have the good mindset of not trying to be distracted by all these things too. Juan Soto saying, all right, yeah, I'm going to collaborate with the fans here. I'm going to interact with them, embracing that playoff culture of New York and still playing well amidst all that. Aaron Judge on the field has to still turn it around, though. He still can't have those same playoff swoons. I think Kansas City's taking a lot of the scouting reports we've seen the Houston Astros do and the Guardians do in the past, too, that have helped contain him. But the Yankees have still gotten enough hitting production, at least in game 1. Well, but game 2, only scoring 2 runs and not really hitting with runners in scoring position, like you were saying, definitely is still detrimental to this team.
I didn't think the Yankees were going to sweep the Kansas City Royals, even if they win this series. I expect this series to go 5. I expect it to go 5. Mm-hmm. I expect the Yankees to go back to Kansas City, win one of those games in Kansas City. There's no way Kansas City wins both those games, especially if you look at the Yankees' record away. I think the Yankees' record is ridiculous. They have the best record away in all of baseball. So I expect the Yankees to go to Kansas City and win one of those games and then go home, and it's going to be up to Garrett Cole. That's what it's going to be up to. I don't know if Garrett Cole pitches game number 3. I would expect I think Luis Gil is going to pitch game number 3. I would expect it. No, there was nothing said yet that he is going to be the pitcher, but I expect it. I expect Luis Gil to go in game number. Well, actually, I wouldn't even trust Rodon. I would put Luis Gil for game number 1, and I would decide if I would put Clark Schmidt for game number 3. I put Luis Gil. Game number 4, I put Clark Schmidt, and game number 5, I put Garrett Cole. That's what I would do.
Would you consider Cole for game 4 if they lose?
If they lose, yes, I put Garrett Cole. If they lose, Garrett Cole would go 4. But Luis Gil has to be the guy in game number 3. I would have started Luis Gil in one of these games. He's better at home. Mm-hmm. I don't understand the whole Carlos Rodon thing. I understand they're paying him, but I would have played Carlos Rodon away, and if he wins, he wins. He loses, he loses. You could have went up 2-0 right now.
Yeah, the ideal formula would have been Gil in game 1, Cole in game 2. So then you could still have Cole fresher for game 5 and still be able to make that kind of thing work at the time. Because the Yankees still have to get some level of pitching depth that they have in their starting rotation they spent on, but their bullpen in the second half of the season, like we were talking about with Adam Virant, not really the same case. And the Royals bullpen has been very good in the second half of the season. So it'll be interesting to see. A 5-game series they're definitely built for. And I agree with you. If the Yankees do survive the Royals, I didn't pick them to win. They definitely have advantage over Cleveland or Detroit. They don't have the same level of pitching depth.
I'm even going to say this. If the Yankees get out of this round, they win the World Series. That's my prediction. If the Yankees can get through this Kansas City Royals series, the Yankees win the World Series. That's my prediction. That is my prediction. So I know everybody's going to look at me and think I'm crazy. Oh, Kansas City, what? They play small ball, and it's a 5-game series. In a 7-game series, I take the Yankees. I take the Yankees in a 7-game series against the Royals. It's a 5-game series, and the way they play small ball, and as soon as they get the lead, the way they're stingy and they're very good defensively. I don't like playing those teams. The Yankees over the years don't bowl well against those kind of teams. So that's what worries me about in a 5-game series against the Royals.
Gedfish.
I mean, Judge, you could say, he's 0 for 7. He struck out 3 times in the first game. He scored 1 run. That's his entire contribution. He had a great play in center. He plays great defense. But they can get around that with other guys stepping up, and other guys did step up night one. Austin Wells, another, clutch hit for the Yankees. He's a really good player. If they're going to get small ball, it's going to be from guys like that. Birdie played tonight. He wasn't bad. You're getting some kind of contributions from those guys. But my concern is the starting pitching, because the first 2 games, you got dog crap performances from Cole and even worse from Rodon. Rodon didn't even get out of the 4th inning. He couldn't find the plate. He was striking people out because he was wild. Like he's some 3rd year, just got up in the bigs getting time pitcher. Like this guy's won a Cy Young Award. What are we doing here? Like this guy is not getting it done. So what do? That they really need to win game 3 because they have to set up the pitching. Heel is going to pitch. And I don't think you want to go back to Cole in game 4. I think you got to go Clark Schmidt game 4 if you win. You're right. They kind of have to go to him if they lose, but you really want to avoid it because he doesn't look right. He's, he had the shortened season because of the injury. Guys like that, they're a lot more touch and go with their mechanics as the year goes on because they didn't have the full preseason to get themselves into that flow. And he's just not right. And that's my biggest concern. You're right, Errol. If they can get through this and they can get their guys straightened out, I don't think the Guardians pose much of a chance. I think there's some really good teams in the National League, including the Mets. Dodgers and the Padres look awesome right now. So we'll see. But I think they got to get through here.
You know what's so funny? I listened to all the Met fans, and they said, we beat the Yankees 4 times this year. We swept the Yankees. And I said, if the Mets played the Yankees in the World Series, the Mets are not going to win. And I'm just being honest. I'm not even saying that because I'm a Yankee fan. I think it's funny how the Met fans think because they swept them in the regular season, it's going to be the same in the playoffs. It's different. I think Met fans need to pump up the brakes. But I wouldn't be surprised if this is the kind of year that the Mets and the Yankees go to the World Series. The Mets have to beat Philly, and the Yankees have to beat the Kansas City Royals. If the Mets beat the Phillies, I think the Mets beat the Padres or they beat the Dodgers because they have the confidence that they can get through those teams. And in a 7-game series, I wouldn't doubt that the Mets find a way to get out of that series against the Padres or the Dodgers. So the Mets have to get out of this round to go to the World Series. And I'm even a betting man. If the Mets get out of this round against the Phillies, I'm going to bet that the Mets go to the World Series. And if the Yankees get out of this round against Kansas City, I already know they're going to the World Series. And I'm predicting they're going to win the World Series if they get out of this round. It's just, I don't know. Everybody thinks I'm crazy, but if Kansas City gets out of this round, Kansas City's going to the World Series. So it's not crazy to think that. This is a team that plays good small ball. And I just don't trust Cleveland's relief pitching, as we've seen right now in this Detroit series. And Detroit's a young team. They're just a young team. And they're going to be good with the pitching staff that they have for many, many years to come. I just don't think it's going to be this year. So whoever comes out of this series is probably going to the World Series. So
the real litmus test is the Mets sweep the Yankees in the regular season. If that were to happen, would Keith believe the Mets would win? That's his logic.
All
well,
right,
Keith, I'm sorry. I just to finish that up. You brought up Keith. Keith last week said that, Clase, this guy is untouchable. The sample size doesn't matter, blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? He gave up a 3-run walk-off home run in this first series here that he's playing in. This sample, we know that he's not as good in the postseason. It's just how it is. There's just guys that are elite, and there's guys that just aren't that level. And he might not be one of those elite guys in the postseason too. That's it.
Yeah, man, you guys touched on it all perfectly. I mean, especially like carrying off of what Fish said just now. The two things that get me worried is, of course, getting Aaron Judge to turn on his playoff switch, because we always talk about his not so stellar playoffs, but he's got to do something along with Juan Soto, Jazz Chisholm, of course, like earlier in the games instead of later on. That, of course, would help them win the series. But another thing is, like Fish mentioned, the pitching. I mean, Garrett Cole was always known as this big bad pitcher, reigning Cy Young, and hasn't been great. So
It was one game. And by the way, nevertheless, even if he didn't pitch well in game number 1, he still found a way to, help the team win. That's all I'm going to say. Your best pitcher, even if he doesn't have his best stuff, he goes out there and pitches just good enough to win. That's all that matters. So I know what everybody's going to say. Well, Garrett Cole's not the pitcher. Go look at Garrett Cole's numbers last year. If Garrett Cole didn't pitch as well as for the Yankees last year, did the Yankees go as far as they did last year in the playoffs? Not a chance in hell. Garrett Cole was the reason why. Garrett Cole, what was his ERA in the playoffs? It was 2-something. He was lights out, and when they needed him the most, he was there. He pitched 7 innings against the Cleveland Indians. And what was it, in game 5, game 6? I don't remember, but don't quote me on it. But in one of the games when they needed him to show up, he showed up to the game. So I disagree. I think Garrett Cole is everything that you want your star pitcher to be. The problem is he didn't play half the season. And remember, he's still trying to get his legs under him. I think he's fine. I'm not worried about Garrett Cole. It's one of these guys. Who's going to pitch on, tomorrow? Not tomorrow, then Thursday. What is it? When's the games? Speedy, you of all statistics should know this, and you don't even know. You got to look.
NL plays tomorrow, and then all of the the next games are on Wednesday. Everyone plays Wednesday, but the NL is tomorrow.
So we'll find out that if Luis Gil is going to pitch on Wednesday. If he shows up, I don't trust a rookie away. I would have started the rookie at one of these home games. I would have played one of the veterans at one of these away games. I don't trust it. So maybe Clark Schmidt plays in game number 3, and maybe then you play Luis Gil in game number 4, especially if they win. I don't know, but I worry that the Yankees are going to put this kid in a really bad position to fail. That's why I would have played him in one of the home games. He has the best record at home out of all the Yankee pitchers. He should have played in one of these games. That's what I would have, because he just plays better in front of the fans. There's a lot of pressure on this kid when he goes away. So I don't know. I'm worried for game number 3. Yeah. But again, I think the Yankees are going to win one of these away games, and they're going to go home. It's all about game number 5. Who's pitching in game number 5, and if Aaron Judge shows up in this series. I do believe Aaron Judge will show up in one of these games and hit that game-winning home run, or hits a 4-run home run, or a 3-run home run that gives the Yankees a good chance to win these games. It's just when they get this lead, are they going to be able to hold up and hold on to it? If you look at the Yankees, 3-run lead is never enough for the Yankees. You saw 4-1 lead was enough for Kansas City. Why? Because they're good fundamentally. That's what they are. They're a good defensive team, and they play good fundamental baseball. The Yankees do not. And that's not Aaron Boone's fault, by the way. Everybody wants to, it's Aaron Boone's fault. Aaron Boone is a good manager. He's a good manager, but what do you want him to do? If the guys aren't hitting, they're not hitting. The guy's not pitching. Is it Aaron Boone's fault that they're not pitching? He took Rodon out. I think he should have took him out after they were down 2-1. I think he was done. You saw it in his face. I would have pulled him. I wouldn't have given one. Rodon, it's a mental thing with Rodon. Once things start to fall apart, it falls apart. You could see it in his face. He doesn't have the understanding how to get himself out of trouble. And I think that's been a big problem for Carlos Rodon since he's come to the Yankees. So, and the crying. I mean, he's the Caleb Williams of baseball. That's for sure. He likes to cry in the dugout when things aren't going his way. So, anyways, that's it for our show, ladies and gentlemen. We will be back on Wednesday. Who do we have on Wednesday?
All right, returning the show at 8 o'clock. It's actually Fish's first guest of the first show he was on. Our friend Braden Webb will be back on. Ex-Brewers pitcher, now pitching in the Mexican League. He will be returning at 8 o'clock. And then at 9:30, returning to the show is Texas Rangers AAA infielder Jax Biggers will be coming back on.
I remember Jax.
Yes.
So I'm excited to get Jax on. He was a fun young kid, and hopefully he gets his chance to play in the majors. The Rangers are a pretty good organization. And Bruce Bochy, I think, is one of the best, if not the best manager in all of baseball. So happy to get him on the show. And again, and we love Webb, by the way. But right, it's Webb.
Yep, Braden Webb.
I think I remember Braden.
Yep, it was Fish's first show and our friend Sean Smith's first show, and they had the argument about Gronk and Travis Kelce on that show.
I remember. I don't know. We've interviewed so many people. I don't.
We'll talk some football with him too.
Duh. So, but I'd like to thank all the fans out there that tuned in tonight. Again, we went a little bit over the time that we should be, but that's because of Jimmy Leyritz. Jimmy Leyritz, is at Yankee Stadium enjoying the Yankee game. And it's great to go to a playoff baseball game and hang out in a suite. I'm sure it is. But thank you to Jimmy Leyritz. Thank you to Adam Virant for joining us. Thank you to all the fans. Like I said, thank you to you, Fish, for all the graphics and all the content you give. Scoops. Thank you to you, Speedy. Thanks again to all the fans. Keep tuning in. Keep downloading and subscribing to us. We really appreciate the time, as always. We will be back on Wednesday, as always. Until then, this is Errol Marks and the team saying good night. We'll talk to you then. Good night, everybody.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Of course my kids